It's August 26th, 2024. I am at Troll Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. Happy Monday. The sun is shining where I am. Hopefully it is where you are too. Everyone's happy. Everyone's excited. Jeremy Lambert survived the weekend, and we're here to talk about that and plenty more. Jeremy, how are you? Are you okay? Did we need to alert the press? What is happening? You're here. You've made it.
I'm here. I survived. SpongeBob and Patrick had my back. I did not go through the table. They put another man through a table instead of me, which was very nice. Cole Radrick tried, but SpongeBob and Patrick saved me.
They're good friends, that SpongeBob and Patrick. Did they give you the burger afterwards?
We did share a couple Krabby Patties, some kelp shakes afterwards. It's a good time.
I know you're going to have Cole Radrick on the spotlight this week, according to one Steve Jensen. Oh. That's Jensen. He said it on the Weekender podcast over on FightfulSelect.com. Okay. Jensen's dropping scoops on for your own show behind the paywall that you don't know about.
I never know these things.
Well, there you go. That is their plan, according to Steven Jensen. So I just kind of gave it away. There's your $5 to join FightfulSelect.com. But there's also a ton of news over there. You can go ahead and hit that up anytime you want. Get all the news because the AEW All In came and went. Plenty of news and notes coming out of that show. I know that I don't think you've changed your t-shirts since Friday. Have you been living in that t-shirts? You didn't even thumbs up like the t-shirt in the video. My God.
Bryan Danielson fireworks. We'll just pretend that I've not changed and that I've not, showered or done any type of maintenance since Friday, because much like the playoffs, you got to grow like a playoff beard if you're a hockey fan. That's how I was for this weekend. I was not going to change the Bryan Danielson shirt until after All In, until after he won the AEW World Championship. And maybe today I'll change it. Maybe I'll just keep wearing it. Maybe every time I'm on this show, you're going to see this shirt until he loses the title.
This should be your pink bathrobe.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. You'll wear
I designed this shirt. This shirt is made because of me. I couldn't get a free one. Not bitter, but it's made because of me.
Although if you ask Brian, he had no idea that this shirt /
probably
photo existed. Are you one of the 4,000 text messages on Bryan Danielson's phone? Let's be honest here.
I don't believe him that he doesn't know this photo exists. I don't believe that. Bryan Danielson loves to lie. Cody Rhodes taught him how to lie. I fully believe he has no idea this shirt exists.
It's entirely possible. But I also don't believe that there are 4,000 unread text messages.
I believe that.
I think it's text and emails. I think it's messages like general.
I fully believe 4,000 unread text. I can buy that.
Who's texting him that often? That like he's not. What is it? I assume it's not his wife. You think it's John Cena just blowing up his phone?
Could be. All these people congratulating him and everything. Who knows what kind of contact Bryan Danielson has? Very curious as to who is blowing up Bryan Danielson's phone that often and that early. 4,000 texts. And how long that encompasses, like how much time does that encompass? Because it can't be lifetime. Cannot be. Like it's got to be something's up there. Bryan Danielson is a liar. I know. Cody Rhodes taught him. I know. Something's up there. Could be Blackpool Combat Club, book club. Although Danielson said that's kind of on hold right now because Jon Moxley doesn't like to read. It could be members of the Blackpool Combat Club. Could be just various people looking for vegan advice, maybe looking for workout training advice, good hiking spots, life advice. Who knows?
There's an interview that I once listened to with Hardcore Holly, with Bob Holly. And this is one of my favorite stories from Bob. And it's not the give me the belt and I'll beat everyone. I know I do love that story. It's actually a story of him leaving his phone on his like kitchen counter and then going on like a 2-week camping trip, because he used to do all these like solo camping trips or something like that, or go with like one friend, or he wouldn't go with his wife. And long story short, he would go without any form of contact, and people after 2 weeks or whatever, he would finally pick up his phone, and his phone would be like laced up with text messages, just people looking for him. Death hoaxes abound. Nobody could find him. I feel like Brian might be in the same boat. Maybe Bob Holly and Brian Danielson should be best friends and hang out and go on camping trips.
That would be something, the stories those two could tell.
I'd really like to hear those stories. I think I'm going to pitch Bob Holly and Brian Danielson's camping adventures. They just go out roughing it. They set up tents and tell old war stories. Oh, we're setting up. Oh, we got it. Oh, they're going to tell their Kane stories. Going to talk about time one of them broke Brock Lesnar's face. Come on. This will be fun. How their necks are feeling. Remember that?
Brian Danielson's neck is trashed, so
according to him. Oh man, we got plenty to talk about, but before we talk about it, of course, you got to leave a thumbs up on the video if you haven't already. The fireworks came and went for Brian, but they'll come back once again when you least suspected. And of course, subscribe to us here on the channel. If you haven't already, what's wrong with you? Why haven't you done it? You got nothing stopping you. Meanwhile, you can also donate a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air, and we absolutely do appreciate that. Oh, JJ's in the chat, and he just mentioned Danielson versus Bob Holly for the AEW World Championship, and I think that's my new all-out main event. Forget Jeff Jarrett. Forget the guy who should have won the Casino Gauntlet match. Bob Holly should have been in it, and he should have won. We got to dig into All In, don't we? There's plenty to talk about.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a big show.
Was it, though? Was it really that big of a show?
50,000 people thought it was.
55, well, almost. I guess you got to
incorporate. What it was? How many?
Yeah, I think it was about 53 and change, and then I don't know. They didn't do it.
They didn't do attendance announcement.
They didn't.
Yeah.
So WrestleTix, I mean, I'll check the final score from WrestleTix, but of course that doesn't include boxes. So you're going to get someone like Brandon Thurston who will make the official ask, and I'm sure we'll get the actual announcement through him soon enough. But I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to see if I can find it. 22 hours ago, the 53,393. That's what WrestleTix had as of 12 o'clock Eastern. So just before the show started yesterday. So just over 53,000. Listen, man, I'm not going to complain about anybody getting over 20,000 for a show these days. But when you're going into a big stadium like that, almost 55,000, you should be proud. And it sounded like they were proud. We're going to talk about that. Talk about the matches. I want to talk about the scrum because I know we both watched it at various points, or the entirety, whatever it was. Got some news out of it. Got some feelings out of it. Feeling might be back. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with there's a feeling. Some feelings are back. People have feelings, unless you're, MJF and Will Ospreay, and then there's feelings versus facts. Do facts have feelings? I don't know. You'd have to ask MJF.
Facts don't care about your feelings. They might have feelings. They just don't care about yours.
Facts don't have a point of view. Facts don't do what I want them to. Facts just anyway. Sorry, Talking Heads references. 80s bands at 10 in the morning in the Eastern time usually don't go so far. JJ starts us off with a super chat saying, hello to the big stars and me. I am the big star. Thank you. Jeff Jarrett deserves his flowers. We love Jeff Jarrett. Welcome back, Jamie Hayter, Sting, and Desmond Wolfe. God bless Garrett Kidney. I know he was there at the show. For those who don't know, Garrett runs the TNA accounts. He also had taken some time off from doing that. But if Garrett was working, that Desmond Wolfe best of would have been up like that during All In. Good to see Nigel McGuinness back in a ring working. So let's talk about the Casino Gauntlet. Let's start there because people want to talk about Jeff.
Why?
Because we got to. Because we got to build. We got to build. We got to get there. Do you want to start with the Casino Gauntlet, or do you want to start with the Danielson win? Come on, what's more fun? Come on.
Okay, in that case, let's start with the 0 hour pre-show. Joel,
sure,
how did you feel? How did you feel about the 18-person tag team match?
I counted 20 people around the ring at one point, so I don't know how many people were in the ring because there were many of them. Was that actually the Casino Gauntlet was 18 and they just couldn't count the others? Is that what was going on? Maybe RJ City, maybe the announce team were the other ones who were supposed to be a part of it but couldn't make it. That was a match that happened. Who won that match?
That's all we got on this one. We gotta really let's dive into.
Dive right into it. Okay. Satnam Singh had a stare down with Leo Rush.
Yeah, people really want to see this match.
I'm sure they're going to see it. I'm sure it's going to be on Collision and probably this Saturday. Because if we know Tony's going to see it all over his timeline and be like, "Oh, good idea. Let's do that." And then they'll do it. That'll be Saturday. Or do you think they'll run it on Wednesday just to get people going?
They might run it on Wednesday.
Would you do? Oh, you can't bring Raj in just yet. I was going to say put the AAA tag titles on the line, but I don't think Raj Deji's coming in. Well, maybe he's making allusions to Hook winning the FTW title.
They congratulated Hook.
Someone was like, "This is long-term storytelling." I'm like, "No, it's not. This is just good timing. What are you talking about, long-term storytelling?" It's not like Raj has been making commentary videos and showing up to shows and sitting in the back with an FTW hat. Like, there's no story here. The story is the guy made a joke about a gimmick that started in January. What are we doing here? What is long-term storytelling? Picking shit out of the air is not long-term storytelling. Anyway,
people get very confused of long-term storytelling and playing off of things that happened in the past. Long-term storytelling implies that the stuff that happened in the past was purposeful and was going to lead to something. No one had any idea that Jinder and Hook was going to lead to something because no one thought Jinder was going to get released or anything like that. So it's just picking up what people are putting down. It's long-term recycling. Can we get this term over? Long-term recycling?
LTR?
I feel like that's like long-term injured reserved or something. LTIR.
That's the IR, yeah.
Long-term recycling, everybody. Let's make this a thing, okay?
Is it though? Is it recycling or is it just long-term randomizer? That's still an LTR.
No, it's not. It's not random though, because you're using something that was previously used. I think recycling works. Don't try to turn this into something different, Joel. Just credit me for a great idea and let's get this over.
I can't lie to the people, Jeremy. I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Shucky Duckies ain't not your best work. You do a lot of good work.
What are you talking about? Long-term recycling? This is good. You guys.
Also, like, if you listen to Raj Deji, he was saying that he was pretty much done. And he saw the writing on the wall with his WWE deal.
Everyone says that, though.
It felt like Raj was a little more like, I had more wrestling to do, but they didn't have me down as an active wrestler. This is from various interviews. The one I'm pulling from is from his Talk is Jericho sit down. And yeah, he basically said, this was it for me. He didn't expect to be put back on the active roster, but they did here and there. And then he just kind of saw the writing on the wall when WrestleMania came and went, and he wasn't really factored in beyond, the Rock promo that one January, and then the match with Seth, and then everything went from there. It was just kind of there. But anyway, Raj is not a recyclable human being. He's reusable. You keep him around.
Isn't that the same thing?
No. Reducing, reusing, and recycling. That's all one thing, but recycling and reusing are different. Recycling eventually makes something reusable. Reusability is without having to repurpose it in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Anyway, Jamie Hayter's back. That's great. The way in which she came back, storyline, they made sense of it. The person to which she came back against, not going to want to see that for a while. Unfortunately, it feels like we're going to, and she's going to yell F-bombs every single week until she gets her way into it. Saraya comes out with her entire family and their extended family and their cousins and their brothers and their sisters and their mothers and runs down the crowd, says, "I'm the best." And of course, this all just leads to the return of Jamie Hayter, which is fantastic. Great to see her back. She looks like $1 million. The gear, I love the big frilly jackets that wrestlers wear when they're so ornate like that. I'm a sucker for that shit, and Jamie's has always been fun and really cool. So her coming out in like the big orange jacket with the paisley type colors, good stuff. Loved it. She comes in, they get into a little bit of fight. My favorite part is God bless Harley Cameron. So Hayter's coming down the rampway and she's taking out all different members of the family that are there, and she goes to launch Harley Cameron. Two things. One, good on Harley for taking this bump safely, because it felt like if she had launched Harley was going to hit the back of her head on one of those retainer walls for the fans, that would have been bad. So instead, she just kind of like hurls herself across without getting hurt. But then she grabs the other dude by the beard, whose name I don't know. I forget. I don't care. She grabs him by the beard and she launches him, and he goes full force into the stairs. That's a good sell job. He was like, I got one shot. I'm just gonna beat the shit out of my body for this moment, and he sold it, and it was great. Made Hayter look like $1 million, and then of course the stuff happens with Saraya. Sure, I'm glad Hayter's back. I'm happy to see what happens after this ends with Saraya and Jamie Hayter. I don't know if you want to add anything. I don't know if you want to talk about the press conference stuff or save that for later on when we get to the press conference stuff. Where's your mind at with Hayter's return?
Glad to see Jamie Hayter back. Glad she got her Wembley moment. They're selling these things, so you can buy them. Yeah, buy them at the merch stand now. They're probably like $55 or something. You can't get a bag or anything with them. You got to just hold on to it. Hold on tightly to your Wembley moment. Saraya got that, or not Saraya. She got that last year. I mean, I guess she technically got one. But Jamie Hayter got hers, which is very good. It's good to see Jamie Hayter back. She was obviously big focal point of the division last year before she got hurt. She's been away for over a year, so I'm very curious how she looks coming off of this injury and everything. I assume they'll work her, they'll ease her into things. Harley Cameron and Saraya easing into things are a little, their choices, right? Like their choices to use Harley Cameron and Saraya as first matches back to get back into the flow of things, but I'm sure it'll be okay. They're good choices in the sense that I don't think it's going to be pushed too hard. Like, you're not going to be working this high, hard-hitting pace against Harley Cameron and Saraya, which is probably what Jamie Hayter just sort of needs to ease back into things. So that's good. The Saraya press conference stuff sucked. It was god-awful. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. I don't know what allowed this. I don't know if she was just told, hey, go in there and just say what you want. And she's like, okay, that's what I'll do. And she certainly did. I know people were rightfully, she said, oh, don't write anything bad about me. I'll beat you up. I don't care if you're male, female, they, them. Like, people were picking up on that. Just the F-bombs and the like cursing and insistent yelling, like it was just terrible. Like it just wasn't good. Just awful.
Rhino's ECW promos. I don't know if you guys and girls and friends beyond the binary while we're playing up the Saraya stuff. I don't know how much y'all have watched old Rhino ECW promos. You want a dude who can drop an F-bomb every other word and it's still a very intense promo? That was Rhino. Was it good? That's in the eye of the beholder. That being said, whatever Saraya was doing was not it. It was not good at all. Listen to me at 2x speed. I promise you it's much better. If you want 4x, you get it. Motor mouth here. There was no need for that many F-bombs. There was no need for that kind of anything. There was also no need for her to come out and do this just because she's in her home country. Mariah May pulled it much better in her interviews where she's like, yeah, I hate it here and now I'm in Florida. Stuff like that was fantastic. But whatever.
What do you mean there was no need for her to do this? The stuff that happened on 0 Hour?
No, there was the whole presentation of Saraya being like, I'm home, respect me, I'm the best, da-da-da. Like there was no,
that was fine. The 0 Hour stuff was fine. She came out because you had to bring in Jamie Hayter somehow, and this was a nice way to get Jamie Hayter in there. Like, could they have done other things? Maybe, but like I was okay with that. And because like Saraya had a point last year, she won in the women's title at All In. And so I know the reign, nobody remembers the reign. It didn't lead to anything. I get it. But like it was still something to play off of. And her coming out having a gripe of like, respect me, I'm the only reason, like that was fine because it led to Hayter's return. I thought that was good. The press conference was the stuff that was unnecessary.
I agree with that. I'm also going to go back to say, if we were supposed to respect her, why would we respect someone who's not very much a part of what's going on in AEW right now. She hasn't been a big part of the show.
She's a heel.
Well, I get that, but I'm not seeing her I'm not seeing her weekly on a Wednesday saying, why am I,
she's on Friday. She's on Rampage.
Yes, sometimes she is on Rampage.
She's been on Rampage for like the past 2 months now. She just faced Toni Storm. Like, the heel stuff she was doing was completely fine because it set up Jamie Hayter's return. The press conference stuff is where they lost me.
Regardless, she comes out during the post-show presser, and yeah, she starts yelling and screaming and dropping every F-bomb she could, and someone thought that was a good idea. And people are saying, I don't watch Rampage. And even if they just showed us this, I would have been okay with that. But regardless, she's been coming on Rampage. Fine. She's been on TV. I'll take that. I wasn't watching everything. That all said, whatever she was doing in that press conference, like, the whole family's not going to come back with her to the US and start doing this bullying gimmick. On Wednesday, it's going to be her and Harley Cameron, and maybe Zach Knight comes back. But other than that, they're not staying. Like, the family's not coming with her. So why do that? What does this accomplish? This just made things awkward and weird.
I understood the stuff on 0 Hour. They wanted to put the family out there because the family was there last year. All of that,
yeah, that's fine.
Made sense. The press conference stuff, the family's not going to be there, but it's not necessarily about the family. It's just about Saraya wanting the respect and how she was disrespected in front of her family and everything. Go ahead.
The family was used as bullies to hold back the panel the whole time that Saraya was speaking, though. They were used as extras to hold back people like RJ City and Renee Paquette and Daddy Magic Matt Menard. They were part of the presentation. Beyond just, my family's here, you should love them, they're royalty. Once they got involved physically, beyond getting beat up, that's where I don't like using a family story, because they're not going to be there other than maybe Zach and Harley Cameron, who's not part of the family anyway to begin with, but she's part of the presentation. And
it just goes to show how much of a bully her and her family are, though, because Jamie Hayter came out and wiped them all out, and now they can't do anything to Jamie Hayter. So it's like, let's hold back Daddy Magic and RJ City while Saraya screams and yells. There was nothing wrong with any of that. Like, it doesn't have to be this big plot point of the Saraya presentation.
Drops a bunch of F-bombs, and now we're going to get her and Hayter. Maybe they just thought this was going to be fun for the audience. Kind of like when Jericho, did the Forbidden Door launching of a water bottle thing. Remember that in Toronto? And then that turned into Sammy and Jericho versus Darby and Sting in Hamilton. Someone in media got hit with a bottle cap of water.
I don't remember this, but
I remember this. No. This is Jericho just randomly jumped in during the middle of a press conference. This is before the press conference became what they are. They're a little more showy now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then Jericho just comes in and he's got the bat and he just launches something. Someone got not hurt, but certainly like hit with something. Anyway, it was all just to motivate that tag team match that they did the following Dynamite, which was very random and very strange to be at like 1 a.m. in the basement of whatever of the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto when we're all tired and hungry, and thirsty. Where was my bottle of water?
Okay.
Anyway, Jamie Hayter being back is really the best part of this whole thing, and I'm looking forward to where that goes once we move past the Saraya and her family story. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, because you were still just talking about 0 Hour.
She's just gonna beat Saraya, hopefully, and then move on, and then that's that. They don't need to lean into this Saraya problematic, unproblematic stuff. It's not going to end well, because sometimes you got to ignore some of this Twitter feedback, because the more you don't ignore it and you try to lean into it, it doesn't always go too well. So that's just, they shouldn't lean fully into this. Saraya, we love an unproblematic queen who's actually kind of problematic, and see the joke, see the wink and the nod. She's unproblematic, but is causing all these problems. Just come up with something better.
Yeah, I agree. I wish that there would be less online conversation brought into my television sometimes. Me and Norma sent a super chat saying, Ginger Jamie, no need for Blue Chew, respectfully. Good God.
Good. Norma is living up to his name. Bless him.
Hey, man, enjoy it. I hope that you're safe with it, and I hope that nothing is creepy about it. Okay? Let's move along, shall we? Do we want to get into the main card now? Can we do that, or are we still going to talk about other matches on the 0 hour that happened?
0 hour was fine.
It was what it was. It was... I think that the announcement for Grand Slam happening there was good. Like happening on the 0 hour, that was good. Hayter's return, that was good. Doing the Stokely Stokely and Chris Statlander versus Willow and Tomohiro Ishii. That was a good match because that was like the one promoted 0 hour match that got people interested. And on top of that, they started the shows with the entrances. You know, they brought up the trios tags during the 0 hour. I thought they had a really good presentation to make you want to watch the show coming out of 0 hour. So I think that was some good stuff there. People saying the Von Erichs were on the 0 hour. Sure. There was a big ROH schmoz that they did. That was good for them.
Sammy Guevara and Brian Cage both had Wolverine gear. That was hilarious to me.
I heard Sean talk about that, and he made a good point. He was like, do these guys just not talk? Do they just not? Does nobody really talk to each other going into these things? But if the match was just kind of thrown together in the last few days, I can kind of see why maybe they didn't. It was very funny to be like, aren't they on opposite sides of the different teams? Okay.
Do you think Guevara just showed up and he's like, guys, I got this great idea for a gear. You know how Deadpool and Wolverine real hot right now? I'm going to do Wolverine gear. And then Brian Cage, who does like Wolverine gear every other week, it's like, dude, what the fuck?
There was one TNA pay-per-view where Brian Cage came out with the Wolverine gear and he had the single, it looked really low rent. I'm glad that we've come a long way in the gear making world. That stuff doesn't look like high school play quality costumes. One of them should have come out as Deadpool. That's really what it should have been.
Well, I couldn't have changed it in time.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying if they had spoken, if they had communicated, one of them could have been Deadpool, the other one could have been Wolverine, and something could have been okay there, but they didn't do it that way.
They gotta to start every month. They gotta put like a checklist up in the locker room, and you get your name on there. You know a big pay-per-view is coming, right? Whether you're booked on the pay-per-view or not, you might not know at the start of the month. And so you get your name on the list and you write down who you're going to cosplay as. And then you avoid any overlap. If they had a big list board going on and Brian Cage wrote next to his name Wolverine, then Sammy Guevara could have checked the list and been like, oh, Brian Cage is already going to be Wolverine. He's already called it for this month. Let me try to do something else. So this is what I would like AEW to institute. Okay, you want to have organization at the beginning next TV. So this coming Dynamite, you write in big letters. What's the next pay-per-view? Wrestle Dream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, could Grand Slam become? It's not a pay-per-view, but it's their next larger event. But other than that, yeah, it's Wrestle Dream.
All right. So Wrestle Dream gear. You have a list of all the talent who may or may not be on the show. If you're not on the show, sorry about you. But you list all the talent, and all the talent can write down. I like a pack would just come up there, just black tights. Like, all right, Pac's doing black, everybody. We can't do that. He's doing a Steve Austin cosplay. I'm just kidding. We can't do that, everybody. So next person's got to come out. Nobody else can do black tights. This is what we need.
Oh, come on. Then you got Taz who's going to walk up, put his name on the board and just put orange. And everyone else is going to be like, what the fuck, man?
Somebody's going to screw with somebody. It might lead to more arguments, but I feel it would help organization.
Yes. So. Listen, if there's one thing about AEW in the backstage is that it's not chaotic at all. And everybody knows what they're doing at all points in the time. Someone's saying they should all have been Wolverine.
That would have been hilarious, actually. I would have respected that if they just all showed up in Wolverine gear.
Or they do a backstage segment where they introduce them one by one, and then they all look at each other and say, one of us has to change. And there's 4 of them that should be changing. That should be funny.
It's like the Office bit where Creed, Kevin, and Dwight are all the Joker, because this was when the movie just came out. Yeah.
That would have been fantastic. Anyway. Oh, so that's the 0 hour. And we go into the trios title match. Right on time. Oh, that's amazing. Trios title. Packbull Combat Club win the trios titles. When this was announced, you and I sat here and been like, why? And now we know why, because they are the winners of the trios titles. I don't know how I feel about this. They're trying to make...
Find your feelings, Joel.
No, because my facts and my feelings are two very different things. The facts are they're the trios champions. The feelings are, what are they going to do with this? Moxley's still not around. Bryan Danielson's the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Spoiler alerts. And Pac got his Wembley moment, and Claudio won a bunch of matches across the world over the last 72 hours. Good for him. I guess more than that, but anyway, 96 hours. Yeah, that's why I just don't know why this trio's won. And that's not a knock at any of the three guys. It's more like they just put this team together. You had mentioned, this was kind of hastily. It feels like they were hastily put together. And where do we go from here? Because there are other trios teams in AEW that are forming or have been formed that could have fit the mold for this. So people are saying, the UK pop. I get it. I understand why he won or why he's there. But what's the storyline driver behind or besides this is a big pop moment, Wembley moment, hashtag TM, all the words.
That's what it felt like. It just felt like it was a Wembley moment. And it's hilarious to me that we've got these three established trios teams in here, and this is a story they've been building for months, I guess, and going back to Christopher Daniels stripping the Bang Bang Gang of the titles and everything. And then it's just like, yeah, this wild card team that hated each other last year, and Pac left Blackpool Combat Club and Blood and Guts, is now like, these guys are going to help me get on Wembley and we can win. Great. So that's what they did. I don't think Pac associated with the Blackpool Combat Club is the worst idea in the world. The issue is what happened last year, how it wasn't addressed, and the fact that it just felt like these three guys were on the card and in this match so they could be on the card. Like, why wouldn't it have made more sense for Claudio to face Okada in a rematch since they did a 20-minute draw on Dynamite? Like, that would have made more sense to me. But if Pac was in there, Claudio was in this match, Okada was in the Casino Gauntlet, you gotta have an explanation with Pac, Claudio, and like why they decide, let's be together. And it's got to be more than just like, I wanted to be on Wembley. You got to do a little bit better than that. So I'm willing to see how it goes. It is just hilarious that of the four teams, you went with the thrown together last week team instead of the three teams that you had been building for the past few months. When people complain about ROH, of like, wait, they built this whole tag team division and then you just put the titles on Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes.
Dusty would have been something else.
Yeah. You just put the titles on Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, who were just thrown together last week. This is very similar to that.
Yeah, I can see why someone would feel that way. I'm curious about the trios titles and how they're going to look now because they just got redone for the Patriarchy. Are they going to do another rebrand of the trios titles for Blackpool Combat Club? I want to call them the Blackpool Compact Club because I'm a computer guy. But I don't know if there's a rebuilding of those titles in the future. I feel like there will be, but I could see Pac. You know what you talked about? You don't want it to be just Pac turning on them and saying, or not turning, but saying I wanted my Wembley moment. That's why we teamed up. I'd like Pac to basically screw them out of the titles and be like, I just wanted my moment. LOL, GFY, I'm out of here. And then Pac just goes on and does his own thing. They're going to lose to like the acclaimed Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn's going to hit Billy Gunn's just going to win. It's just Billy Gunn solo. That's all it is.
Billy Gunn should win, for being honest.
We got a super chat from Delayed Grat saying Pac will join the BCC now that Danielson is going out to pasture. Wow. And Mox is on sabbatical. Hastily put together as the entire tag team division in WWE. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that last point. Their tag team division could be better in WWE, but they're not exactly hastily put together. There are some established teams there.
All their teams are pretty established.
Yeah, there's very few. The only one that I'm thinking is like Corbin and Apollo Crews. That's the only one thrown together.
Anything. They're not involved in anything big.
They're still a tag team, quote unquote. But yeah, other than that, you're right. Most of them are established actual tag teams. The stories that they tell, that's a different story. Yeah. That's a different conversation. But the tag teams are actually existing and have been in existence and set up as such. And then our pal from Love Wrestling, Lawrence, mentioned they should just commit and call Pac John Moxley now. Go full on Viv. Just, instead of PAC, they call him MOX. Mox, you look different. I don't know where they go with the trios titles. Later on in the night, I mean, there was a very small part of me that saw the way that this played out with, Kill Switchosaurus getting involved, and I've been calling him that for a reason. He gets involved, and Christian Cage is also involved, and they basically screw each other out of, not retaining their titles. And the story has always been Kill Switchosaurus is a screw up. So Christian Cage, I was almost like, is Cage going to end up in the Casino Gauntlet because of this? I didn't expect it to go as far as it did with Christian Cage, but the trios match definitely started to set the tone for how the night would go. Anything else you want to add from that trios ladder match? It was good.
Yeah,
it was a bunch of guys beating the shit out of each other with ladders and tables involved. And I can't listen. This is the one thing about AEW that I will never take away is that the wrestling, when it's time for the wrestlers to wrestle, 9 times out of 10, they're going to do an extremely good job at it. There's never a doubt in my mind that the matches on the shows are going to be good. That's kind of why Jeremy and I tend to talk more about the stories involved than, the match move by move. Let the post shows do that. We just kind of move on from there. AEW Women's World Championship match came up next. Mariah May, speaking of the wrestlers doing the wrestling, but also having a phenomenal story behind it. Mariah May is the new champion. She beats Timeless Toni Storm. Luther is back. I know that put a smile on your face. Before that starts, I want to shout out Aubrey Edwards. She's out there for the first 3 matches on the show. She did this match. She did the London ladder match. Oh, and actually she then does the next one, which is the Hook and Jericho match. So she's out there working the first 3 matches in a row. And that's pretty impressive because referees are, they usually sub out every other match or so. So she's out there and she's working. So she does this match. Fantastic match. Great storytelling. So much good stuff. Why don't you start us off? Because it all started off with Luther coming out and giving the welcome.
This match was everything I hoped it would be. I've said many times over the past few months, I thought this was the best story in AEW. Now, Danielson and Swerve, by the end of it, kind of superseded that. And if you want to say Ospreay and MJF, you had more expectations and hope for that. I can see that as well. But to me, this was the second match I was looking forward to behind Danielson and Swerve. And it delivered. They had a great match, a really fun match. They told a story. They had good wrestling. Mariah May slapped her mom. It's great. Toni Storm didn't bleed. Mariah May bled. It was overall, I got no complaints about this match. Outside of potentially it should have been elsewhere in the card. I thought going on second felt a little off. And maybe if that's just a little almost Jericho WWE brained of like, oh, second is not a spot you want to be in. But I thought they did a fantastic job for going in second. And the Wembley crowd was into everything. And they worked a good match. So no complaints about this match. I probably would have had it go on a little bit later, but the crowd was interested the whole way. So that was not a drawback.
I will push back on because I've seen this argument elsewhere from several people about the placement of the match on the card. Yes, traditionally, second match on the card, blah, 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 Jericho brain. Everything that you said is exactly as I would have put it as well. What we aren't thinking about is the fact that there was a 0 hour and people tend to come and stick around for that show. And that was an extra 90 minutes ahead of the event. So that was already matches and emotion and everything. I like the way that it was placed, the where it was placed, because it was still early enough in the show that the fans were so invested that it wasn't like people were tired. People weren't like waiting because Danielson's up next and we're going to see the culmination of MJF and Ospreay. It was early enough in the show that it worked, and it was early enough in the day that the crowd was still fully invested. I like the placement of it more so than most, I think, but I could see why they would have put it there, but I can also understand the argument for putting it later and having made it more of a nighttime match, right? Once the sun is set and maybe the emotions are different, I could understand why you may have wanted to do it that way.
I would have opened with it, but I don't think they wanted to do that because they did the entrances for the trios ladders match on the pre-show to seemingly save a little bit of time there. But again, it goes back to the old theory of like, okay, if you don't close, you want to open. And I thought this match was deservingly should have been in that big kind of opener spot. But what I will say to close this out is it did not matter to the crowd because they were into it. They were not like, oh, this match is second. Oh, we need to get out of here. Or this means it's not that big of a deal. And it didn't matter to the women because they went out there and still worked a hell of a match and got the crowd with them the entire time. So the placement ended up working because the match itself worked and the crowd was into it.
Yeah. And like you said, it delivered. It was such a strong match. It was such a good match. In the moment, I was kind of like, why are we doing the shoe bit where Tony's like overreacting and be like, should I hit her with the shoe? Should I hit her with the shoe? Oh my God, I don't know. And she's having this conflict of interest and conflict of personality. But then I thought about it. I was like, no, this is the story. The story has always been, first of all, chin up, tits out, watch for the shoe. She didn't watch for the shoe the first time. Now it's the shoe the second time. Like, again, the story beats were there. Could it have been a little less overacted? Sure. But the story is based on a old ass movie where the overacting was all part of the presentation. So I got to give full marks to Toni Storm for really digging into it and really enjoying the moment. And it worked. It wasn't too much. Luther getting some revenge. That was nice. Getting a modicum revenge on Mariah May. I like that stuff. Mariah May is a new women's champion. No surprise there. A lot of places to go with that. Chi-Town Spurs sent a super chat saying, now that Tony and Mariah stuck the landing, where does this rank on American women's wrestling feuds all time? Because I'm struggling to find a better one. That's a good question. I don't know if you want to start on that because there have been some strong feuds in the past.
I think for a storytelling perspective, I'm not sure. Like one that comes to mind, again, story-wise, everyone remembers Trish and Mickey and the story they told. Their matches weren't as good as this match. I think stuff like Bayley and Sasha, the matches were better. I really like the Charlotte and Sasha matches were overdone, but for the most part, they were always very good. I think Becky and Bianca shouldn't be slept on in the story. Like you might not have fully liked that story with how Becky came back and then turned heel, but they did a really good job of just overall telling that story. And then the Mania match was great on top of that. So I'd put that kind of up there. I'm trying to think of Becky's had some good stories. Go ahead.
I was going to give you the one TNA story that I'll give you is the Mickie James, The Last Rodeo. Yeah. I think that was a really well told story. It sucks because it ended in a way where she was going into rebellion that year and she had to relinquish the title because she was injured. And they waited to the very last minute because they thought maybe they would get her for that final match. And then it had to turn into Deonna versus Jordynne Grace, which actually ended up being our show, the debut, and Deonna was on the show the next day. Regardless, that whole Last Rodeo was very well done. So I shout that one out. But yeah, no, this is a really strong one. There aren't as many strong storylines in the last little while, but this is definitely one that's worth remembering.
I think Ronda and Becky could have been there had they ever had a singles match because they were trending very well, but they just never had the big singles match to blow that off. Like I think there's a good story between Becky and Charlotte, but some of the matches have been good. They had a last woman standing match, if I remember correctly. That one was very good. But it's also just been a lot, and the story wasn't actually what they were trying to tell with that. They were trying to make Becky to be the bad person in that feud, and that wasn't what it should have been. Yeah, there's probably going to be a little bit of recency with Tony and Mariah. And when it comes to the other ones, they have the almost detriment of having too many matches, where Mariah and Tony's just had the one match. So obviously, the more you kind of have, unless they're all great, it's going to water down a little bit. I think Chi-Town Spurs was referring to the SummerSlam finish tarnishes that. I assume you mean Becky and Bianca, because that's kind of what I was talking about. If you can correct me if you meant something else. And I assume you also mean the SummerSlam finish where Becky beat her in 3 seconds. But to me, that doesn't tarnish anything, because that was the story. The story was Becky being heel, turning heel, beating her, and then Bianca getting her revenge at WrestleMania. Like, that was all part of the story. So at the time, it didn't look great, but they did a great job of really bringing that back around and making it all make sense. Thanks to Becky pushing for it, because if that didn't happen, I don't know what the hell would have happened with Bianca and Becky. So yeah, I don't mind that finish in hindsight, just because it all played into the overall story of Bianca and Becky.
I'm trying to remember if commentary made any reference to Bianca not being ready, or Becky Lynch kind of taking advantage of a situation to just waltz in and do this without Bianca knowing, because that was the whole play up, right? It was supposed to be Sasha. Sasha didn't do that SummerSlam match. They trotted out Carmella and everyone booed, and then it was Becky. And long story short, they did a weird kind of story with it, but then months later got to the finish. So it started off weird, right?
Becky made reference to that. That was how big time Bex was born, right? Of who gives a damn how I won? I won. I'm the champion. It's not my fault that Bianca wasn't ready and got caught off guard. Too bad.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, I mean, you want to give a couple others. Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in the earlier years of AEW were having some good matches. The stories weren't always the best, but they always motivated something. And then Deonna and Thunder Rosa, again, same situation. The story was there. Having to rerun the match a million times was not exactly needed, because Deonna won in terms of the amount of matches had. And then the blow off was just Thunder Rosa finally getting a win in was it last woman standing, or was it a strap match? It was a strap match, right?
It was a Texas bull rope match.
Texas bull rope. It's a strap, it's a rope, it's two people attached to each other. That's what it does. People are talking Gail Kim and Awesome Kong, TNA. Absolutely. Another one. Good matches. Gail Kim had a lot to prove, and Awesome Kong had a lot to show. So,
and real quickly, Senior Nerd asking, I don't understand why I have to run down past women's rivalries when it was so obvious. Toni Storm Mariah May is the best women's wrestling in terms of storyline and feud. It's because we were asked to. I don't know if he missed that, but it was a super chat by Chi-Town Spurs. So that's why we were kind of looking at past stuff. And the second thing is stakes and placement matter when it comes to this kind of stuff as well. And so when it comes to Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, very good, but Dynamite, no fans, and not main pay-per-view or anything like that. There's a difference between that side and Deonna and Thunder Rosa, which has been good, but all confined within Collision, basically. The fact that this is high stakes, biggest AEW event of the year, stuff like Becky and Bianca, we're talking WrestleMania and SummerSlam matches. That stuff it matters at the end of the day, because it places an extra level of importance on those matches.
Yeah. So there we go. Mariah May is the new champion. Who does she get first? Is it Mina? Does she turn on Mina?
I think there's a story to tell with Mina there. And Mina, they showed her in the crowd watching. So I think there could be something with Mina.
New Rev Pro Women's World Champion. Mina Shirakawa. Big gulp of water for the Merkin.
Sorry, I was taking a drink.
I just wanted your reaction while you did it. Yeah, people are saying they want Mina versus Mariah and All Out. Yeah, you could do it. You know what? You got 2 weeks to turn it around. Mina's been around the story for long enough that you could play it up, but we'll see where they land because I can't think of anyone else that would immediately step up and in 2 weeks make this as fiery, unless it's Britt Baker for some reason, who just lost the TBS title. I don't think it's going to be her. Let's move on. Hook defeats Chris Jericho, retains the FTW championship. I love at the end, Hook just rips off the Learning Tree decal and just throws it at the camera. This match was what it was. Listen, I can't tell you it was good. I can tell you that, you know, the piss break photos that were going around during the Jericho entrance, I thought that was hilarious. It happened. Hook's got that title. Good for him. Move on, please.
It was inoffensive. Let's be honest. Like, it was inoffensive. We got a Taz appearance. He put Brian Keith in the Kata Hajime or the Taz mission, and they did some cricket spots, and he threw cricket balls at him. They played to the stip. Big Bill went through the barbed wire, or onto the barbed wire, I guess, not through it. It was fine. Big Bill should have just won all these titles, though. They should have called an audible real quickly and just strapped up Big Bill.
Should have won the Casino Gauntlet match.
Honestly, yes. Like, Big Bill, they won't do it. I don't know what his reactions are going to be like when they get back to America. But man, he was over on Collision. So we watched the feed of Collision that was unedited. And then I rewatched the show, the US feed on Saturday. And they deaded that crowd noise for Hook, because Hook got booed way more in Wales than it came across on television. They kept the Big Bill reactions clean. That was as loud as it was live. But they deaded those boos for Hook, because when he was doing those corner, because that's what really stuck out with me. When he was doing those corner punches, the crowd was booing Hook like crazy, and it did not come across as well as it did on television when they showed it on Saturday. So, you know, the crowd still cheered for Hook when he won the title and everything, but man, Big Bill was over.
I don't know what it is about the UK fans loving Big Bill so much. It's just very funny to me.
Big dude, former WWE dude, like, they're into it.
Did he ever do something? I mean, take over London? Did he ever do anything like notable in the UK that's gone, hey, he's big? I get it.
And he's a big dude. Like, UK fans are like, shit, Big Bill, love him.
Somebody asked in the post-show presser about the pivoting, and when Hook was sitting down with Tony. Was it when Hook was there, or was it afterwards?
Nah, I think it was
Solo Tone Zone.
Yeah, I think it was actually like before some of the stuff, but it might have been solo. But yeah.
But somebody asked, because there were other questions with Hook that were whatever. But no, the question that was basically about Hook's reaction, being so positively positively reacted to in the UK, and like, do you change direction out of that? And of course Tony gives like his meandering 5-minute answer around it, but it's a good question to ask, because we haven't seen something like that across the pond. Things, and like you're supposed to be building up Hook as like this big, world beating champion kind of guy. Someone saying the Wales crowd was actually trolling Big Bill. Well, then they go to Wembley and 55,000 people start to cheer him too. So I don't know if you can keep going with that.
So I get the sentiment that it was trolling, because Big Bill was telling them to like shut up and everything. And so then they're like, oh, well, now we're going to cheer louder. Ha ha ha. Like, I completely understand that. The problem with the trolling is you don't need to boo Hook to do that, because that doesn't look great when Hook is getting booed. And two, yeah, if you're going to troll and do all this, then you got to expect it to possibly carry over and it not become so much of a troll job. And now it becomes, oh, this guy is just getting good reactions. So it may have started off as a troll, but the booing of Hook felt like an unnecessary part of that troll job and didn't do anybody any favors. And then now it's going to turn into, oh, we like Big Bill.
Is this a good thing for Jericho to lean on, though, until eventually maybe Big Bill believes his own hype and decides to go on his own, and that's the beginning of the disillusion of the learning tree? Is that a story worth picking at, or
only if it gets Big Ben a job and he replaces Big Bill? That's
that
the
would
only
be very
reason I
fun
go for it. Yeah,
I would like that. Yeah, there's I like Big Bill. Listen, I got to see his return to form in Impact and in TNA. He really does have something, and he's come a long way, especially from his last days of WWE and everything that he went through personally. I think there's something there for him. He's so entertaining. He is so good. He's very smart. He's very well spoken. But yeah, I mean, it's just there's got to be a story eventually with Jericho and Big Bill, and maybe they're at odds, maybe they're fighting. But then you're almost doing, Kill Luchasaurus and Christian. Maybe Big Bill becomes a big screw up.
Nah, I can't do that. Like, just put the dude over. Just put him over.
I'd love that. Unfortunately, I don't expect it. Maybe cricket balls. I'm just looking at I remember that I'm looking at the stipulation because I remember if Hook lost, he would never be a part of the Jericho verse again. But Hook won, so I guess he's still in there.
Yeah.
Oh, people were like, oh, now that Jericho was defeated, he's going to go away for a few months, right? I'm like, no, they're going to double down. He'll be back to have a big match at All Out versus like the TNT champion or something.
I think he's going to face Danielson.
You think it's going to be Danielson?
I kind of do.
I don't think it is. Danielson and Jericho in Chicago doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah. Like, I get it, but I kind of do. I don't know why. I just don't know. Like, there's obviously other stuff Danielson can do, but I think I'm setting the bar very low for myself so I don't get disappointed.
I think that's fair. I think it's more likely you see something like, I don't know, Jericho and Claudio. I don't know. There's something else. We've already seen that, but my point is like, I don't expect Jericho Danielson.
All right.
I do see, Big Man Dogs is saying Jericho was Danielson's first WWE match. Maybe Jericho versus Ricochet. That should be the match at All Out. Welcome to the big times, kid. Oh my goodness. All right. 3-way time for the World Tag Team titles. Young Bucks. The Young Bucks retain over the Acclaimed and FTR. Now, man, Young Bucks came out in their Beatles cosplay. Made me love them again. And then the match happened. Well, it was fine. Really what I want to touch on is Grizzled Young Vets coming out.
Yeah.
Did I miss something? Did I miss a reaction that wasn't there? Because it felt like there wasn't much of a reaction for GYV. And that's not me shitting on GYV. It just felt like they kind of appeared and that was kind of it. Did I miss something from the crowd perspective? Did I miss something from the pop? Yeah, someone's saying there was no pop for GYV. Did I hear that right?
Like they came out after a cold match, and no knock on Grizzled Young Vets. Like they're popular in small time crowd UK, and I imagine they have more popularity than I probably think over there. But it's not like they were big time WWE acts. It's not like they've been on television or anything. They're just I don't even like they've been active, but they haven't been as active as you may think since their WWE run. And it's not like they've been working again like a ton of shows. It's not like an Oku who's been a staple of British independent wrestling and has had a lot of banger matches and has had a big visibility on the scene. They've kind of been there. They've had some matches and stuff, but I feel like they've worked more American shows than they've worked UK shows since their release. And Yeah, there wasn't much of a reaction. There wasn't much of a reaction to the match overall. Like, they just, the last time they were on TV, they got beat by the Acclaim too. And for some reason, they're attacking FTR. They got to figure out this tag division.
Tell you what else I had to figure out. Not giving Max Caster a microphone. Oops, there we go. Because if there's one thing I don't need, it's jerk off jokes and masturbatory references. Because that's all that rap was. It was just him
paying attention.
Yeah, just talking about jerking off. That's all it was. Max Caster has some pent up aggression inside of him. Yeah, it wasn't much. The match wasn't much. GYV is nice to have in there. I think maybe people who made the decision to put them in to jump out in front of the, at the end of the match, I think they expected something. Other than that, this is a division that it's very frustrating knowing that AEW was built on saying we're going to have the best tag team division and really delivering that in the first few years of existence. And now here we are 5 years later and we're like, what are we doing? What is this? Do GYV get the all out match, or someone saying in the chat, GYV FTR? Because FTR, they also get to use the whole, we didn't lose fairly because you guys used the title belts again. So they gave themselves the out for everyone. Billy Gunn got involved in the match. There was enough mishmash that it feels, are they just going to run this back as a 4-way now? And all out? Put a ladder in the match. Do a 4-way tag team ladder match for the...
If they do this shit, we will never talk about the AEW tag team division again. If they do a 4-way ladder match at All Out, I'm boycotting and banning the AEW tag team division from this show.
We did that once with another promotion. I could see us doing it again. Best of 7 4-way ladder match. It wasn't a strong match. Listen, if you enjoyed it, good, great, wonderful. Like I said, I like the Young Bucks cosplay. I love that they did the Beatles thing. I saw the photo of Kazuchika Okada earlier wearing one of the Jackson's vests, really playing up the bit that Okada steals the Young Bucks gear and wears it. That was cute stuff. That's funny. But again, the match itself was what it was. There wasn't much to it. We'll see where it lands in 2 weeks at All Out. But that was the match for the tag titles, and Young Bucks retained. There you go. Chicago ladder match.
I don't know if they're going to even be on the Chicago show, truthfully.
What'd you do with the Collision before? Because now the Bucks are going to work a Saturday? What are we doing?
No, I just don't know if they're going to defend the titles or anything like the Bucks. I don't think they're going to. If they do, they'll defend them on the pay-per-view, not on Collision. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Would feel weird not to have them defend the tag titles.
Why? Well, I guess they haven't done it for months anyway.
That is fair, but I mean, we got to do something's got to happen. The trios titles, will those be on the line? I assume that they will.
Yeah. Well, no, because Pac's facing Ospreay.
Oh, that's right. Jesus Christ. All right. So that means the tag titles should be on the line, or they'll do a number one contendership for the trios title in like the 0 hour. I wouldn't hate that. Do some sort of number one contendership. The winners get the Grand Slam match. Start setting up stuff for Grand Slam where you can, because you've got 4 hours of TV to tape at Grand Slam. You've got 2 hours of Dynamite, and you're doing a Collision after that. So maybe that's where you start building stuff, or do the ladder match. Christian Cage wins the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal. Okay,
yeah, this ruled.
This was very funny to me. Who all was in this match? It was Orange Cassidy, Kazuchika Okada. Nigel McGuinness comes out for a great pop. That was
good on him. I'm glad Nigel got a moment. All signs pointed to him facing Danielson last year before Danielson got hurt. This year, they obviously couldn't do Danielson because there were other plans for him. But I'm glad Nigel got this moment. I don't think we're going to see him full time or anything, but you could tell how much it meant to him to be part of Wembley. I mean, he was the person who technically made the announcement last year that they were going to Wembley for All In. Like, it meant a lot for Nigel to be there in this building and be part of this show. So I'm glad he got on this show, because it didn't seem like it was going to happen, because everyone just pointed to, oh, well, if it's going to be Danielson or nothing. I'm glad he got this spot and got on this show.
Yeah, me too. This was a great moment. And this was one of those things where it was like, it wasn't a surprise, but it was a nice surprise, if you know what I'm saying. It was almost an expected surprise. People making reference to the Mariah May kiss earlier in the night, that brought him back. Stuff like that is really funny. And of course, he did a backstager during the 0 hour where like he just felt more intense than I've ever seen him. And I was like, oh yeah, he's coming out for something. And I don't think he's going to get involved in the main event, but I think he's going to try for something. And instead comes out during this casino gauntlet match and has a great showing. Kyle O'Reilly's in there too. Zack Sabre Jr. shows up, G1 Climax winner. Go ahead.
Bless. Two things. One, I popped for the Tower of London spot that Nigel did. Second, they kept teasing that he was going to take like shit on his neck, and he didn't take none of that. Nope. They were like, absolutely not.
The anti-Danielson. That was the best part. He doesn't need to have a medical team stop the match to go check on him. He was like, nope, I'm smarter than that. We're going to go through this match. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Doomsday Device. Absolutely not. Not doing this. Doomsday Device. You better get out of here with this bullshit. Jay Driller is going to, nope, he ain't taking that move. Absolutely not. Bless.
He's like, I'm just going to do World of Sports style. We're good to go, brother. ZSJ shows up. That was a nice surprise to see the G1 Climax winner. It would have been really cool if this show was in a few months and ZSJ wins at sorry, I'm forgetting the name. Kings of Pro Wrestling? No, not
Wrestling. Yeah,
King of Pro Wrestling. Yeah. If he wins that IWGP World Heavyweight Championship there, and he had been able to walk into a show like All In wearing that title, that would have been a moment. But this was still fantastic because CSJ, he's at home. He just won the G1, so that was good for him. Roddy Strong, Mark Briscoe, Hangman Adam Page, of course, has a good showing. Jeff Jarrett, Ricochet makes his final debut
over Jeff Jarrett. Should have called an audible.
Should have. Oh man, Jeff Jarrett should have won. Should have won. Then Christian Cage and Killswitchosaurus is the final member of the field in the Casino Gauntlet match. Christian Cage winning surprised a lot of people, myself included. Definitely was not something most people expected. I was still needed Double J. Double J should have won. That pop alone should have given him the all-out main event match against Bryan Danielson. That's what I want. Hangman was good. Everyone in this match came in and played their parts very well. I thought this was a lot of fun. It didn't overstay its welcome. Was it the longest match? It was at the same time as the main event. Both went 26 minutes according to Wikipedia. So
it was
a lot happened, but it was good stuff.
According to Cage Match, the main event was 2 seconds longer than this. So
I don't know who to trust.
Yeah, I'll go by Cage Match. I'll trust that they're right. I did so they were like, oh, there's 21 men in this match, and then only 12 came out. So look, I'm pretty sure they only had 12 people booked. I liked Evil Uno was like, I was next. Shit. But I did like that they played into it ended early because we talked about that they need to do something like that. I don't think they ever had 21 people planned for that, but it's wrestling. You lie about this kind of stuff. So it does make it seem like, oh, there were still shit. Sorry, it's a loud bang just happened. People
there it is again.
It's like right under me too.
Is this the zombie apocalypse coming?
No, we're getting work done to the house. So Jesus. All right. Anyway, sorry everybody. The worst part is like literally under my feet. So like when that happens, like I feel the floor shaking. And so that's what throws me off more than anything. Like the loud bang, whatever. But the fact that it's like literally right under my feet trips me out. So anyway, I like that they ended it early and made it seem like, oh, we had 21 people, but only 13 or only 12 came out. So this is what you sign up for. You never know when it's going to end. It could end at any time. Having 21 people in a match like this would be just way too much because it's already a lot of people just hanging out on the outside and doing nothing. This is the issue with the Rumble, but at least with the Rumble, you can toss people over the top rope and just get rid of them. But there's a lot of laying around in the Rumble for certain people. Same thing with this. It's a lot of laying around so people can do their stuff in the ring. Thought Ricochet looked good. Not too much of a surprise, but still a surprise that he was there and in this match. Hangman being defeated and not getting his title shot was a great visual. Jeff Jarrett should have won because he was the most over guy in the match. Christian winning popped me. It's a choice. Like, I don't feel like it's bad. He's the best heel they have. Honestly, he is. He's the best heel they have on the roster. So, like, I'm cool with it. I can only take so much of this Luchasaurus teasing toxic relationship kind of stuff. Like, all right, I get it, but you either go with it or you don't. And he didn't hear, and like, if he's not going to turn, okay, he's not going to turn. This felt like the moment if they were going to do it. And now I don't know if they're going to move forward and maybe do it down the line, but this felt like the moment to do it if they were going to do it.
SP3 and I had a conversation on Friday after you had left about the card, and there were two things that we had posited. One is, does the winner look like an idiot if they don't go for the world title? That was question number one. Because number two, the thing that we had kind of put in our head was maybe the winner of this match, if it had been Ricochet, makes the challenge to Will Ospreay for the international championship at Grand Slam. And maybe that was, one of the big matches for Grand Slam that gets tickets moving. Ricochet is a huge, Ricochet and Ospreay is one of those matches. Maybe that was where they could have gone. Instead, Christian Cage wins a Casino Gauntlet match. Does he have to go over the world title? Does he have to go for it? Or could he go back to the trios titles because Killswitchosaurus was part of it? Or does he go after a different title and surprise everyone, the international championship, because Will Ospreay is a father? What do we do?
No, you go after the world title. It says guaranteed shot at the world title. I think they even clarified it later that it was further clarified. Like, it's a world title shot. I guess technically they could say, oh, I want to go after this title. That's dumb. It's dumb as hell to go after any other title but the world title. It's dumb when Money in the Bank people do it. It'd be dumb if Christian did it. I fully expect him to go after the world title. Bryan Danielson's a father too.
Yeah, but listen, most of the roster are fathers. Yeah, especially on top.
All right.
Trying to look. Who else is Jack Perry's not a dad, right?
He's already feuded with Jack Perry. I mean, Jack Perry makes some sense in he's got the history with Christian, but they're both heels. So that you don't want to baby either of these guys.
Is Jack Perry really a heel after the reaction he got for that? All he has to do is show up.
He tried to set Darby Allin on fire. Yeah, he's a heel.
Maybe Darby deserved it. Darby was coming out with Gorilla Glue. Thank you, Renee. He's got tacks on his head. That's not a babyface maneuver. What are you talking about?
How's that not a babyface maneuver? That rolled.
Are you going to put tacks on your head and go pick up the 27 kids from school today?
No, but I'm not a babyface like Darby Allin is. There's different types of babyfaces.
So you'll just roll your face in glass instead because you're a heel.
He's a tack face instead of a baby face.
It's like Hellraiser. Anyway, I don't know. Someone has mentioned that the ending fell flat with Christian winning.
It did. Yeah, it did. Like the live crowd definitely was like, "Oh, what? Huh? What just happened in this?" Because I think they were expecting more people to come out. Like the last entrant was Luchasaurus / Kill Switch. That's not exactly this major big surprise for a last entrant. And then he just helps Christian win, which we've seen before. And then, yeah, I think people were very surprised that Christian just ended up winning. So, yeah, it did feel flat to the live crowd. I thought it was hilarious.
I just saw it and I was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going. I don't know where or when or what works, but Christian versus, I'm guessing, Bryan Danielson, or he could work later. It could easily be that, it's post Bryan Danielson that Christian Cage, takes that title or goes after the title.
I think Christian is a fake hater for not cashing in on Danielson at the end of this show. Imagine he comes out there with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne and Mama Wayne, and Mama Wayne just like towers over Brie, just like shoves her down. Nick Wayne's holding the kids back, and then Christian just beats Bryan Danielson in front of the kids and Brie And that's fake Hayter. That's what a real Hayter would have done. And Christian didn't do that.
Maybe he had to get home. Maybe he had to go back to his hotel room so he could do a plank. He's big into planking, that Christian. Loves it. Mercedes Moné retains her TBS championship.
Are we just skipping Ospreay and MJF?
No, I was going to come back to it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Because do you want to do that? Or do you want to go?
I don't know. You went to Mercedes. It seemed like we were going in order, and then you went to Mercedes and Britt. I don't have all to say about it. It wasn't that good. The right person won. My concerns about Britt Baker all came to fruition in that she hadn't had a lot of ring time since returning. The matches she had weren't that good, and she worked. Sheeta was an eye-opener, but Sheeta probably wasn't the best first match back for her. And then she faced Harley Cameron, who completely different style than Mercedes. And that was it. She didn't have enough ring time in returning. And then she was going in there against Mercedes, who works a quicker pace and who has been pretty active since returning from injury. And they felt on two different pages here. That's it.
Yeah, chemistry was lacking. Mercedes had a great intro. Loved her entrance. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite match in the card. Crowd wasn't seemingly too into it either. It was just there was a lacking of chemistry. Do they run it back? I doubt it. I'm surprised they never did the Camille Britt Baker match. Maybe they just ran out of time because of the suspension stuff. Who knows? But
yeah, I don't think you should do that match though, because
not anymore.
Well, I don't even think they should have done it leading up to, because then you're doing a DQ finish or you're beating Camille. And I think that neither of those would be good. I think the way they built the feud was fine. And now it should probably just be done with. I don't know where Britt goes after this, because I don't feel you can run it back. She lost pretty clean, pretty fair. So it doesn't feel like it's a run back moment. And Mercedes just has probably better things to do. Mercedes was very dismissive in that press conference, talking about Britt. You know, in the matches against Willow and Stephanie Vaquer, she made sure to put them over and was like, it was great to work with them. They really brought a lot out of me and it was fun. And, I thank you to them. And with Britt, she's my number one fan. Anyway, let me talk about the dogs I had in my entrance.
Great dogs, though. They all hit their marks. Those dogs were cute and they were great. Listen, anyone who does a Star Wars-esque Queen mishmash of an entrance, come on, it was good stuff. I like that entrance. Who knows? Maybe Britt should just join the patriarchy or something. Chi-Town Spurs sent a super chat saying Mercedes carried that match like LeBron on the Cavs in 2007. Good. Okay. All right. I get it. Okay. You know what? Let's just get the Coffin match out of the way too while we're here. Jack Perry, I should say, defeats Darby Allin. This match was really all about what happened afterwards. The match was what it was. It felt like it got cut for time because it was very short. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think there's more meat on the bone between Perry and Allin. It just felt like they had to really hit it quick. I thought that match was going to be earlier in the night. It being the match before the main event was a bit surprising to me, but who knows? Maybe they did it because they want to do more. I'll tell you what I hope they do not do, and that is a tag match. I hope that Sting, this appearance was a one-off. He just came out to save his friend. I thought that was a great little moment for the Wembley crowd. That's fun stuff. Not against that at all. Sting showing up, great. Just don't turn it into a match. He's retired. They said it multiple times. Let's keep it that way. Jack Perry retains the TNT title. Anything you want to add over all that?
It fucking rules that Sting is 60-something and he just comes out and he just beats the shit out of 3 champions, as he should, mind you. I got no issue. This is not a complaint at all. It just rules that this man is at this level, that you got 3 champions here standing. They're deathly afraid of a 60-year-old man in face paint. Love Sting. Absolutely love Sting. Hair was looking good. I don't know what the hell he put in it, but it was looking good.
Sting's got to a point where, and this is again, you're in your 60s, you've been wrestling a long time. He does the thing where he takes the black paint and he paints this part of his face just to extend the hairline. I'm not hating, man. If it works, keep doing it. It's just one of the first things I noticed. I thought that was very funny. But no, nice to see Sting. It's just it's Sting. I think that Perry versus Allen has another. I think it has another go at it in Chicago. I would not be surprised because Darby's got the world title match at Grand Slam. You got to do something between now and then to make Darby Allin hot again. Because losing this match didn't really do much for him.
You can heat Darby up very quickly. Darby is a guy who, I don't want to say he's untouchable, but he's always going to get a reaction. And he's so good that he can heat himself up and just do one crazy thing and he's going to get heated up. And Danielson and Darby almost sells itself in that it's two, Washington guys and two guys that, Darby's looked up to Danielson and everything. Danielson's title run just sort of sells itself, but I don't have any issues about them heating up Darby. I said this before the match. I was like, it felt like Darby was going to win because I just don't know how you put Darby in a coffin and then roll him out a month later. And it's like, now he's facing for the world title. But they kind of just saved that by taking him out of the coffin right after Sting just saved him and everything. He did not get set on fire. When they did this spot, the ending of the match, Jack Perry puts him in a body bag. His hands are tied and everything. And Darby pops up so he can't close the coffin. And I'm just thinking, why didn't you just kick him in the fucking face and then close the coffin? Why didn't this happen? That's what he did, is just kneed him in the face and close the coffin. I was like, good. You know what? I respect a smart heel. Good job, Jack Perry. But yeah, then he just got out of the coffin and it was fine. All right, you just kind of move on. It does feel like there's more between Jack Perry and Darby Allin. I don't know how quickly they revisit that if they go back to it at All Out, because I wouldn't have Darby taking a bunch of losses before this world title match. I don't think that's the move either.
I was just thinking about how many times I was thinking, man, Wrestler X should just kick him in the dick. And they did it a whole lot last night too. But there was a lot of that. A lot of kicking in the dick and a lot of face punching, as there should be. There is more to Jack Perry and Darby Allin. But if you do a coffin match, what the hell else can you do from here? First blood?
No.
I'm not again, but I'm saying, how do you build up from there? You can't just have a straight up one-on-one match at this point.
Set the opponent on fire match, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking on this. I mean they set him on fire and they set him on fire, Anarchy in the Arena. They threatened to set Jack Perry on fire in Blood and Guts, and that's how he got this match. And Darby Allin was about to get set on fire here at All In. I feel like some type of fire match is the next step for these two.
Yeah, and not an Inferno match. Those just didn't work. That happened once and it looked fine, but you can't.
It happened more than once.
It happened. I mean, the one time they did it where it was the big, the Unforgiven 98 match, the Kane and Taker one. That was arguably the best one. Okay. The rest that have happened, I see people saying Inferno match. No. It's not an Inferno match. It is, you light your opponent on fire. You got to get the gas. You got to get them on. And you got to light the match. You got to call it a dynamite match. Light the fuse. They use the old theme.
Okay.
I don't know what they call it, but I would like to see Chicago Fire match.
Chicago Fire. Can you do a flaming cage match or something? They gotta do something with fire. Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
So they've already got a cage match on the horizon.
Do they?
Allegedly.
What is it?
I don't know. I'm too busy listening to Yoshihiro Tajiri to go through your entire apartment.
Well, no. Is there a cage match?
It's not officially announced, but it feels like a certain match between a main event competitor is going to have a cage match element to it.
What am I missing here?
All Out, there is the chatter was Hangman versus Swerve in a cage.
Oh, I guess. I don't know if I like that as a cage match.
Could you do Buried Alive again?
Between Darby and Swerve, or Darby and Perry?
And Jack, yeah.
You got to feel off on the fire, honestly. Like you've done too much pyrotechnics and fire to not give me some type of fire match.
It's true, especially last night. They brought it back around. They brought out the gas can. They did the whole thing. Like, yeah, you almost have to do it.
Guys, I apologize for all the work that is going to be going on over the next couple of weeks. I don't know if it's always going to be this loud, but yeah, we are getting our basement remodeled, so there's just going to be a lot going on here.
Fire on a pole match, I think, is the answer.
What if they fight in like a firehouse, and then somebody gets like lit on fire off of that?
But I'm pretty sure like a house that's lit on fire, or like a firehouse, as in where they store the trucks and where the bell rings and people go out to fight the fires. But that's a place where traditionally fires don't exist, because
that's the irony of it.
Oh, I see where you're going for.
Yeah.
But it should be a campfire match. It's just an outside and a fire pit.
We almost did that at the SpongeBob show. We sang the campfire song, but then one of the heels cut it off. It was very sad.
That is a very heel move to do. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caden saying if it was a pandemic, they do a fight in a skate park. They would do that. And one of the skateboards would be on fire.
You got to do something with the fire. You just have to. Yeah. It's a missed opportunity if they don't. And honestly, it's cowardly if they don't.
It feels like whatever the payoff will be, it's going to be laced in fire. They got to do it. But also, like, it's really hard to do that again, because going back to what they did at Jack Perry getting lit on fire at the pay-per-view, he had to do the whole like dousing himself in the in the fire retardant stuff.
Hey, don't use that type of language. Oh, you said.
Yeah, I knew you were going to come in and try to use that one. Good try, though.
How are you, Sean?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Table, coward.
Allegedly didn't go through a table.
I've been through 2 doors.
You have.
I will say it's pretty cool that, like, they talk about nepotism in wrestling and all that stuff. But Giselle Shaw's brother debuted, SpongeBob Shaw. And nobody says anything.
Giselle has a sister.
So we've not actually talked about this show yet. We've been recapping All In. It's Cole Radrick's birthday yesterday. What are you eating?
Protein oatmeal and egg whites.
Okay. My God.
It's good.
It's Cole Radrick's birthday yesterday, and he spends a minute or two of his time messaging me, pitching ideas for next year's show.
I love it.
And I'm like, can we not pitch this kind of stuff? But I might be doing something next year. Did something this year, might be doing something next year. We shall see. I'm not trained. You actually do this stuff, Sean. Like, you actually train and take it very serious. It's not that I wouldn't take it serious if I did it, because I have too much respect to not do that. But for the thing this past weekend, it was very fun, very easy. I didn't have to be trained. The stuff he's pitching next year, I'd actually have to prepare and train for.
Listen, I'm not going to say that I am some agent savant or something, but I've had a number of people's first matches. Now, the most recent one was horrible. That guy was so bad. But I think there are ways to sort of reverse engineer it. Listen, you're slightly more athletic than Logan Paul, so I don't think it'll be that much of an uphill battle.
I don't know. We shall see what next year brings. I'm a little
Clip went viral though.
It did. The thing is, I tried to upload that during the show, and it just didn't take. It finally posted the next morning. It's like, oh, okay.
Because you were in a farmhouse in the middle of Spencer, Indiana.
Well, the pictures went through fine. It was just the videos didn't go through at all. But it finally went through on Saturday morning, so it was fine.
I mean, there are a lot of indies that would kill for that type of exposure.
See, I think that's also why Cole wants me to do it. He's like, this is the most talked about thing from the show, and we haven't even posted the show yet. So there's some type of clout off of this, and I'm just like, it ain't that much.
I love that. And listen, I love. Gosh, I can't remember the fella's handle, but he does all the professional videoing for. Or all the high level videoing.
It's GPW Productions. Is that it?
No, it was somebody else. It's the guy who, God, I can't remember his handle. I know his name, but I don't want to put it out there in case he doesn't want me to. But actually, it's the one where my Shaza clip went viral as well. But like, he's got this beautiful, slick, produced version that didn't come out till later. And you're chilling.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
you're chilling in the audience with your phone up, and yours gets like 500,000 views. Let me see. What is it? Cheap Heat Spot Fest. That's what it is. That guy. He's so good.
Yes, much more professional than mine. But he only had like the entrance that they did. Like I had the tail end of the entrance, and then them actually like fighting and putting one of the members of Original Sins going through a table. So I had a little bit more action in mind compared to his.
All right. Well, then he can go to hell then. Not really. Damn, the Shaza clip is at 700,000 views. Jesus Christ.
Good stuff.
I only stopped getting notifications about it just like in the last week or two.
Mine was also stolen by like engagement accounts and then used for, they don't quote tweet it or anything. They do the just let me embed it on my timeline, and that got a bunch of views and everything. So that was very the game is
important news today for those that celebrate. The Nasty Boys versus Drew McIntyre and Dave Taylor match has been released at long last. The Nasty Boys apparently lied to an agent about being in shape in like 2007 just so they could get a dark match and whoop Drew's ass in front of their friends. They sold nothing. And then one with an elbow drop in like 3 minutes.
Gotta respect it.
Yeah.
That's wrestling.
And then got a job 2.5 years later in TNA.
Got no choice but to respect it. Well, I mean, we know they get the job in TNA.
Well,
when you watch the match, you'll go, something's off here. And it's because Jerry Sags looks like an actual adult at that point. He doesn't look like Bebop or Rocksteady anymore.
You saying Sags?
Listen, we had the greatest era of just shithead looking people back then. Bulk and Skull, the Nasty Boys, Bebop and Rocksteady. Like, we really were spoiled with that.
Everyone looks too made up nowadays. I agree. Need just more.
Yeah, so I heard like Denise on our Raw Post show was like, oh no, Braun Strowman should go ahead and shave his head.
No.
That's when haircuts were men.
We need some more disheveled people out there.
27.
You need more of this.
There it is.
He's one of 3 people who have wrestled in the Tokyo Dome, Arena Mexico, and Wembley.
That was the best part of that entire scrum. Watching Will Ospreay blow TK's mind. Really?
Tony Khan, not a fan of him because of old John Tenta. John Tenta killed a snake. So Tony Khan does not like him.
That's
okay, fair. Well, I mean, so did Miro, and he hired Miro. He shook the bag and threw it. It was so funny when Denise asked him about that. Go back and watch that scrum. Because he didn't joke about it. He was like, well, very clearly, we would have never done that.
I remember this.
I was like, damn, bro. It's 95 degrees in this training facility. Why are we taking things so serious?
You never know. People get weird on the internet, Sean. I don't know if you know this. The internet's full of people. A lot of them are weird.
Not in my experience.
Not once. You got to keep them in check. I'm glad that you do that. Especially the weirdos. What's dropping today? What's coming up today? Give the people a hint.
I'm trying to decide. I've got a little bit more details on the Swerve contract. And there are some things. I was going to release like a big combined post with Corey, but I think he's a little bit busy as of now. But we're going to work on that.
Oh, I'm getting my house remodeled. There's a lot of basement work going on over here.
Are you using Manscaped right now, Jeremy?
Can neither confirm nor deny
right now
these allegations.
It's very loud motor if that's the case. I'll tell you that much.
Stop burying our sponsors, you piece of shit.
Tell them to come on over here.
Anyway, anywho, Yeah, I don't know yet. I've got to work on the backstage report. I'm recording that and the Q&A momentarily, and that will be up a little bit later than I planned. But as Shucky Duck points out, Joel's over there using his Sibian, so
that's a good fun time.
Do you have any update on Sid?
On Sid, it's not him behind that account.
Yeah.
But Sid does have a Twitter. He just forgot the password to it.
No.
Yeah.
God bless. You know how many? He's probably
account has like 1,000 followers.
He's probably got 4,000 unread DMs in that account alone.
Damn, man. You know what? There is something I want to talk about briefly. The Mercedes divorce question.
Oh. So we haven't.
Let's mute Jeremy for the time being. Here's the best part. It's like, wah! And I'm like, let's mute Jeremy, and he's like, huh?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
LeBron getting breathed on. Huh? What? That's not a foul?
Well,
what are we doing?
I don't believe I should be muted during this question because I'm the only one who can speak on divorce here. So I feel fair. I'm actually
that you know
a
of.
person
Maybe
of
I've had one. Maybe I've had. Somebody said update on Triple H's burner account. I do have an update on that. The people that I talk to say he doesn't use a burner; he just uses his account. And the actual quote was, "You see the shit he accidentally likes all the time. He's using his own account." So there you go.
Take a look at that one post that went around from SK. That's all you need to know. He's fine with it. He goes. All right, you want to get into that to questions, to the weird questions?
Yeah. So like I just want to say I've had a lot of really, really good interactions with the person who asked that question. I think he's a good person. I don't think this makes him a bad person, anything like that. I think his intentions were actually good. We talked about it a little bit. Now I'll sort of leave him to if he wants to, explain, all of that element. But my line of thinking is I understand that to some people, none of this is our business. And I mean, none of it, not a contract, not what happens backstage, et cetera, et cetera. But that I always personally draw the line at reporting on someone's relationship, asking about, divorce, exes, anything like that, unless I know they're cool. Now, I saw a lot of people say, well, she brought it up herself. Well, she brought it up herself because it was getting leaked that it was happening. And after years, she mentioned that in the interview. After years, she felt like after being asked about it so much, she finally needed to speak about it. And what she did was she spoke about it in a taped, controlled environment that she planned. She knew the person that she was being interviewed by and probably had heavy editorial control. And this was an on-the-spot live situation. Now, I saw people say, yeah, you don't hesitate to ask about Vince. Well, no shit, Sherlock. There's an active lawsuit that was going on with Vince and the executives of that company. You'll notice who I don't ask publicly about Vince, and that's the talent, unless they have indicated to me, and which one did, that they were okay with it. I especially won't ask the women on the roster that because I don't know what they may or may not have been subjected to. I'm not trying to bring up trauma live on the air. Like it's not my place. Plus, to that person's credit, they don't have a relationship with Mercedes. They can't just ask that whenever they want. I'm able to ask people things a little bit more of a liberal method than others because I have more contacts, but I still wouldn't ask anything contingent on that, even if you got to word it different. Like, you've spoken openly about going through some difficult times. How would you, etc. It seemed clear to me like she was kind of giving an out, like, don't do it, bro. Don't ask about it type of thing. I saw a lot of people say, oh, well, this is what happens when you put yourself in the public eye. There is, I don't even know what she does. The Chapel Rowan or whatever girl. I have no clue what they do, anything. But I know I agree that there are allowed to be personal boundaries set. I feel like there was a pretty big cue in that interview saying, I've avoided talking about it and I don't really want to talk about it anymore after this. I feel like that was a significant cue. And this isn't a situation like WWE where it's like, well, tough shit, you're going to get asked it, because that is wildly different. It's just wildly different. I saw somebody comparing it to Bryan Danielson, talking about his family, and I was like, they are a part of a storyline. They were featured on TV for this. Like, it is just wildly different. It is, and again, I just want to make this clear. I'm not going to name the person either, but I don't think they're a bad person. I've had wonderful exchanges with them. In fact, we had a good conversation last night about it, and I shared my thoughts with that, and they shared their approach. And I do not believe it was malicious, but and the way that I have always approached this is I don't really care what other people ask usually. As long as you don't like undermine somebody else who's asking something. Like, there was somebody that was like, well, now I'm going to ask a nice question. And I'm like, that's lame as hell. But like I've always said, if you want to ask somebody about their favorite donuts, I don't give a shit. It's your time. It's your outlet. You traveled to travel, or you paid to travel there, or to get on the call or whatever. But this one is one where I'm just like, that's where I've always personally drawn the line. And Jeremy knows that very well, because he covers the news directly on a lot of that stuff. Unless somebody brings it up themselves, or I have had a conversation with them before or around the interview, I generally will not bring up even their current relationship unless I know they're okay with it, much less one that is dissolved.
I will say, look, there's going to be more stuff going on the news portion of it. The only like personal relationship stuff we cover marriages when it's two wrestlers, because we love, and so I think that's good stuff to cover when two wrestlers get married. We'll cover like a baby, because they put that out there. Again, two wrestlers. If it's a wrestler and a significant other that is not part of the business, we typically don't cover that. We don't cover like breakups, or even if people are just dating or anything. We've never really covered that. The only splits we've actually covered was really CJ and Mercedes, because they both publicly put something out there in in a manner that was more than just like, hey, we've split. Like, it was a more joint type of statement type thing. And even the Mercedes one, I don't think you were around that day, Sean. I think it was actually when you had your GCW match. I held off on that for the longest time, when it was like very clear that it, like, TMZ reported it, and like it was very clear that it was there, until she actually came out and like gave a statement on it.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, all right, she has said something. I'm going to still approach it with care, but I feel a little bit more comfortable actually putting something out there on it, because she has publicly released a full video about it.
Yep. I will understand that each outlet has their own approach, and that's fine. Like, you don't have to follow the Fightful guidelines, obviously. Like, it's not necessary. There's all kinds of stuff that like we don't cover on Fightful that a lot of other places cover. Like, if you go to e-wrestling news or some shit like that, not calling them shit, but some shit like that, they cover way different things than us. They are after a different audience than we are. They are after, they sort of serve a different master in that sense, but I don't feel the need to cover that. And I had somebody say, oh, well, you wouldn't want to be asked about your father-in-law's lawsuit if you were doing a press conference. And I was like, well, if I was the executive for a company, if I was the executive for Fightful, like if I was in my spot now, and God forbid somebody in Fightful were in a similar situation, if I did a press conference, I would expect to be asked that. Like, that's the nature of it. But I wouldn't go in expecting or ever planning to be asked about a prior relationship, or even anything contingent, connected, tethered to that, whether it be advice or feelings or anything like that. And again, I do want to make it clear, I don't think that guy was trying to be malicious. I just think he was trying to get like something genuine out of someone who does a lot of what they do in character. And we all know how frustrating it can be to cover any number of things when someone is in character, but much less when you have traveled across the world to do media and someone is staying in character. Like, it can be frustrating, but also I don't think that the only two options are kayfabe question or question referring to divorce. I think there is sort of a happy medium there.
I think so I know this person as well, have good interactions with them. The framing was like just directly mentioning the divorce is where the framing became a little bit of an issue. Because if you were just gone, hey, you've mentioned you've been through stuff in the past year. What does it mean to you now to be here, to be on this stage? Like, then you're not directly bringing it up. And then she can give a comment on it and go from there. I think he may have been a little flustered when she mentioned the stuff she mentioned and was like, oh God, what is your question? And then it just became, you get thrown off of that. Sean, you mentioned Mercedes being in character and he was possibly looking for a genuine moment, which I do believe. I think he was looking for something
he was.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Just knowing the person, I think he was looking for a genuine kind of answer in that. That is almost where because it is Mercedes and because you know she's going to be in character, I understand like trying to get that moment out of her.
Yeah.
But in this case, you almost just got to cut your losses and just be like, what did you think of Camille interfering? And then you're going to get Mercedes giving a Mercedes answer instead of what happened.
Well, let's go back to like we did the three of us did that interview with Mustafa Ali, and that was very much in character. And what did we do? We made the most of it by asking questions while having fun with the kayfabe, surrounding it. And that's, like you said, sometimes you cut your losses and you just have to ask your questions within that world and hope that something lands that is both entertaining and informative.
Yeah. And again, I am of the belief that I don't try to police what other people ask about. There were people that buried Steve for the Taylor Swift question. I didn't care. I was one of the people that just didn't mind it, didn't care. I understand that dependent on your outlet assignment and what you're going for, that's what the question is based off of. When they called on me to ask Rhea Ripley a question, I said, well, in that moment, I said, I'm getting a TikTok clip or a reel out of this. That's what I'm doing. If I get a question for Triple H, I'm like, okay, I want to ask something with a little bit more substance and find out if Stephanie has a role. If I speak to literally anybody with a pulse, I'm going to ask them why they haven't fired Velveteen Dream.
That's very much on brand for us. That was something we would do.
Yeah.
Have we ever gotten that answer?
Well, they did fire him eventually.
Oh, shit. Really? Must have flown under my radar.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I mean, I got to say, in terms of like press conferences, this was one of the ones where I think this was maybe the happiest and most like outgoing Tony Khan has felt in a while.
Yeah.
They were absolutely, listen, they should have been over the moon. The show was very strong. They had a great ending, blah, blah, blah. Like everyone brought their A game. This one felt different in a good way. They were definitely seemingly happy with how this went. And I thought that was one of the big takeaways from the media scrum itself. A couple of weird questions doesn't take away from an otherwise very like happy presser. It's good stuff.
I'm excited for the All Out one because first off, the show will be good, I'm sure. But depending on when Tony finishes the pay-per-view, I'm hoping that this will maybe start a trend. Because Tony's got AEW All Out. That's like what, Saturday? Sunday? It's Saturday, September 7th? Is what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. He'll be on Central Time there. He's got to do his presser that ends when? And then fly on a jet to Miami for the next morning because he's got the home opener for the Jags the next day. So I'm hoping, listen, Tony, you want to make this an earlier night for all of us?
Oh, please.
You won't. No, you won't.
Please. See, Saturdays is a little bit more palpable. Like I can handle that a little bit more. It's especially school being started back up. It's the Sundays. It's like, if it goes Sunday until 3:00, well, then I'm up at 6:30 because gotta get kids to school. So like that's a little bit more difficult. Saturday, at least Sunday, I can sleep in a little bit.
Sorry, he's gonna. It's the tradition is still there. The show is still 3 hours and 58 minutes. The post show is still 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half if you're lucky. But like, yeah, it's just going to be what
you got to get them started quicker. This thing didn't start until like 40 minutes after the show was done.
And that was something that was really strong about the last
numbers.
that's fair. But that was one of the strengths of the last media scrum that they did, was that they were able to get a good head start on it. And then Tony would join in progress. And that was something that I know Jeremy and I were a big fan of doing even before they started doing it. And WWE has been following suit and making their post shows more of a hybrid post-show / media scrum.
Brutal in person. It sucks in person.
And I'm hoping, this is the one thing I'm hoping that they do, because at Money in the Bank, we all talked about it. I'm hoping that they start showing what's going on outside of the room before they bring in the talent to talk inside of the room, because that's how you can get better questions out. Like CM Punk comes out after DM Hunk, after Drew McIntyre gets suspended on screen. You want to get that reaction, but we in the room have no idea that it happened. Little things like that can play in easier, but that's WWE. With the AEW stuff, I agree. Waiting 40 minutes can be a real piece of work. If you can do it sooner, get it off the ground, get it moving.
Indeed. Well,
we need just Hook. We just need Hook coming in there, giving 3-word answers and getting the hell out. That's all we need.
Time will tell.
I've got a busy couple of weeks for those of you so inclined. I'm interviewing Maven Wednesday for this Black Label Pro Combine. I think I'm supposed to interview Mojo at some point too, but I'll be there next week in Chicago. Kate will be filling in for me on AEW, but I'll be there in Chicago doing coverage of the Black Label Pro Combine. I'm very excited about that. I have already beaten Mustafa Ali and Jordan Grace in a vertical leap contest by I would say forfeit, because they both said anybody can beat me in that. So I'm taking that W there. I'm probably not going to compete in anything else unless it's against Shaza. So there we go.
We have a guest scheduled to have a guest from the Combine as well. We won't spoil it,
man,
because Joel is guests
yes,
multiple, but Joel's very excited.
They're good guests too.
Yes, they are. Very much looking forward to those guests.
Yes.
I've been banging that drum for a long time, so I'm looking forward to the potential of this.
And then, gosh, what else do I have next week? Oh, my birthday's Friday. Shower me with gifts, guys. Goodbye.
Right. Bye, Sean.
Bye.
It's been a while since Sean appeared. I didn't think he loved us anymore. So
he came in on Friday. Came in on Friday for 2 seconds when Cam was here, and did his bit and left.
I wasn't here on Friday, so I didn't know.
I
wasn't.
He decided that we didn't need to do the rub anymore, so he hit the bricks. He stopped coming around. He saw that we were a success with or without him, but we always appreciate when he shows up.
Yeah, fair.
JJ sent a super chat saying, "Jeremy, you're a trained pro, psychosis electron." That compacted your spine and made you 3 inches shorter.
Yeah, I don't know if I do that in like a real thing.
Good.
I can't believe Cole. It's like 10 o'clock at night last night. It's his birthday, the end of it. So like I can only imagine what kind of state of mind he's in. He's pitching stuff. He's like, Smitty next year. I'm like, are you running this show next year? What was happening? It took you 5 years to run the second one.
We'll
talk a little bit about the Smitty. We still got to get through All In, but go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, I think we might be going a little long today.
Yeah, I figured that. I figured we were going long today.
That's okay. We can always go long, especially when there's an overrun involved.
Yeah.
I see dead people.
Any excuse to use that is a good excuse. We haven't. Where were we? We did Darby Allin. Let's talk about the last 2 matches that we need to cover. First, Will Ospreay defeats MJF, wins the International Championship. This match was very well done. The story was there. The match was there. The moves were there. This was a strong match. Ospreay winning at Wembley was always the play. This was always the good stuff that people wanted to see. And the entrance was special as well for Ospreay, doing the Assassin's Creed intro and then being like, maybe I'll get my own game someday, bruv. And I'm like, thank God, let's do it.
Ryan rolled that he's like, I'm part of the Assassin's Creed now. Like it's like a real like underground club. Maybe it is. I don't know. But apparently Will Ospreay is like a real assassin. So look out, everybody. He's friggin' what's the name of that movie? The Knights. What somebody will know it. I feel like it's called like the Gentleman's Club or something. But I feel like he's part of this whole thing. Now I don't remember who's in it. They've made like 3 of these movies. I've actually watched 2 of them. Cannot remember anything about it. Hopefully somebody in the chat understands what I'm talking about. But yeah, Ospreay's just like part of this thing now. Good for him. Good for him. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was good. I thought it played to the strengths of both men. Is it the Huntsman? Yeah, I think it is the Huntsman. Thank you, Jason. The Huntsman is the Kingsman. Yeah, the Kingsman. There you go. We corrected it. Kingsman. Everyone's got it now. All right. The Kingsman is what Will Ospreay is now part of. That was a good match. Again, played to the strengths of both men. Everything looked good. The finish made sense. Obviously, using the Tiger Driver. That's what you want to do. And it led to the finish, not a kick out, which as it should. Bring it back.
Felt bad for MJF, who had to be folded over after that Tiger Driver for like a 20 count.
He is. His tights were up his ass on that thing. It looked like
you're almost watching Taint City, baby.
Yeah,
he was folded up for a bit. They had to get the referee. Bryce had to get back into position to hit that count, but he did it. He sat through it. Good for him.
And Daniel Garcia coming back made a lot of sense, and now I assume they'll pay that off here coming shortly. Don't know, Tony, of course, was not going to comment on a contract status in the press conference, but good sign, words of Tony, good sign that Daniel Garcia was back and will probably be moving forward with AEW at this show. And so, yeah, I thought it accomplished a lot. So good match. Overall, I like this way more than their hour-long match. Of course, that's just me, and I just don't generally enjoy matches that go super long. But yeah, I thought this was a much better match.
Yeah, Daniel Garcia making the reappearance, taking off the mask. That surprised a lot of people, happily so. They didn't play out the who stole Max's diamond ring story.
I think that's legit.
Because commentary made reference to it finally, and maybe they did. Maybe they really did have the ring stolen. But Max had tweeted it earlier in the day, and I kind of put it out there. I'm like, did commentary make reference to that? And Pulaski was like, what? And I showed him the tweet. He's like, oh shit, that's got to mean someone comes in. And like traditional wrestling trope would mean they do that. Max doesn't really take to socials for something that's not storyline driven, unless it's like a really big deal. I don't know if this is a big enough deal to break kayfabe for Max, but I don't know. Regardless, felt like the whatever that was has either not played out, or maybe the idea was that Daniel Garcia did steal it, but we're not going to find out just yet. Maybe that's the motivator for the match, that maybe they'll have it all out to MJF versus Daniel Garcia.
The motivator is he nearly killed this man.
Right, but I mean like the motivator for MJF to take the match, because Garcia is going to want the match. Garcia was taken out, and Max can easily just be like, no, I don't know you anything. You're a piece of shit. And like Garcia could be like, well, look what I got. And that could be, Max wants his property back. And that's not a babyface thing. That's Max is a piece of shit thing. So that could be the motivator to have Max accept the match, is where I'm coming from. Ospreay's the new international championship. They rechristened the title, gave him back the new one. This was the one thing. This was something that I didn't really love, and I mentioned it on Twitter, was Bryce stepping on top of MJF to take the title and award it to Ospreay. Now, I understand Max is a piece of shit character. He mistreats Bryce Remsburg, and he's awarding it to the new champion. But I've never seen Aubrey Edwards do something like that to Chris Jericho, who does the same thing in all of Jericho's matches. Jericho's an asshole to Aubrey Edwards. Aubrey doesn't physically abuse Jericho after a match. So I don't really like that he took that extra step. I get it. It got Bryce over, and I don't think referees need to get over. So that's my one gripe. That's not even like a big thing. It was just something I'm bringing up because I don't think a referee needs to do something like that, even for a laugh. It didn't need to happen. Rick Knox is an idiot, but he's not exactly giving the Bucks the titles to use against an opponent. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Maybe it plays into something. I don't know. I truthfully didn't fully notice it. I was like, okay, sure, that happened. And then moved on. I was more like, why'd they have the international title just on standby, huh?
They picked it out of the trash. They've been carrying it around ever since. By the way, like for Caden, who's saying, and other people have said this too, so I'm not just singling out Caden, saying like referees, it's okay to have different personalities. Stepping on somebody is not a personality. If he had just like flipped them off, I feel like that would have been okay. But doing something like stepping on, doing the physical aspect to me is a little much. We've seen referees shove, and I didn't like it very much either. You know, that's kind of where I'm coming up with the referee stuff.
All right. Oh, yeah, I think it's valid what you were saying. I'm not gonna get on you on this, like the Lexi Nair thing. That was completely.
Why isn't she announcing more matches for Dynamite? Why do we have to go? Why does Don Callis get to announce matches for Dynamite? What is this?
By the way, plus Lexi Nair, you know, she said in the pre-show Taylor Swift could enter the casino gauntlet. People got like legit mad at me of my joking Taylor Swift tweets. Like people, I argued with one person. My favorite bit now, it's not really a bit, but like my favorite thing is people who clearly don't read my bio or whatever, which is fine. You don't have to. I'm not that important. But they're like, oh, I only trust what Sean Ross Sapp reports. Like, as you should, mind you, as you should. But like my response to that is always who. And then they just argue with me that I don't know who Sean is. And I'm just like, all you got to do is just click. Like you'll figure this out very quickly. I'm not important, but it is hilarious to me when I can just be like, who is Sean? Never heard of this person. You got to trust me and my fake scoops over Sean.
You own the site. Heard of. You own the website. What does it matter?
You can tell how dumb really people are when stuff like that happens, though. That's really the point of the bit when I ask, like, if they're like, I only trust Sean, and I ask who. I just want to see how stupid somebody can make themselves out to be. Of, oh, this guy doesn't know Sean. He's clearly a fake scoopter. Like, 1, yes. 2, yeah, I don't know Sean at all.
Never heard of him. Yeah. So we made reference to it. Maybe MJF and Garcia at All Out. Maybe Ospreay versus Ricochet at All Out for the International Championship. He was asked during the press scrum, was Will Ospreay, about the entrance of Ricochet, and he made a few references to not only their match in 2016, but also just like, I've been telling him to pull up forever. Is he still good? Is he still this? Is he still that? And I see the look on your face, so now I got to ask you, what is that face? Because I'm very curious.
Ricochet got to stop tweeting, man. Just
oh, this about the speed stuff.
Yeah, like I like Ricochet, and I've said this before, it was a long time ago. Like Ricochet's not great at social media because he doesn't like filter or anything. Like he just tweets. Like he respects the game. I respect him respecting the game. But it was very clear that the tweets became a thing, and WWE was like, you gotta pull back on this. You can't be tweeting, like you can't go back and forth with every single fan. You just got to stop that. And now he doesn't have that, and so he's going back and forth. And yeah, the speed stuff of him saying more people watched my speed matches than any one of yours, and then somebody was like, so you're saying more people are gonna now like watch your matches less because you're in the company that he is? And he just replied like, well, no. It's like, well, you kind of, that's what you're saying there.
You
like,
can't do that.
And you know, he's like, it's supposed to be a dig at Kyle Fletcher of like, nobody watches Kyle Fletcher matches. Like, I get it, but you're also inadvertently saying like, nobody's watching Kyle Fletcher on AEW or ROH because that's where he mainly wrestles, and they're watching speed more than that. Like, it's just not the best kind of shot to take when you're in the company.
Forget it. Now. Ricochet comes in and he is like super WWE guy Ricochet, and he's the invader. He's the guy who comes in and he's wearing and you know what? Last night he shows up, he's wearing the black and gold, and everyone's like, he's wearing the AEW colors because he's all elite. He should come out and just now everything he does should be branded black, red, and white, and he should just be that guy. He should just be the invader and call himself the speed guy. Speedy Ricochet.
Like, look, good on Ricochet, man. I'm all for him tweeting. It gives me some content. It gives me some laughs. He's good. He's getting paid a bunch of money. He's living the life. I was gonna make a tweet of I might still I'll give this idea for free. There's two very popular photos. It's Buddy Matthews and Rhea Ripley's ass, and Ricochet and Samantha Irvin's ass. And I was gonna tweet those side by side, and then just like two men who ain't got a care in the world telling y'all WWE is ass. And that was gonna be the tweet.
Now one of those weird engagement accounts are going to take it and be weird.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want to do it. But there you go. Put on it.
I've seen people post photos, those two photos side by side. So you wouldn't be the first.
It's not the first. Nah.
But the other thing is, it's, oh my God. I feel like Ospreay versus Ricochet is closer when you do a match like Kyle Fletcher versus Ricochet on Dynamite. Maybe we're getting to Takeshita versus Ricochet next. Although I wouldn't love to see that because Takeshita possibly just coming back to maybe take an L. Not my favorite, but if it's going to be more Don Callis family weirdness just to get Will Ospreay into a title match with Ricochet, it is what it is.
Ospreay and Ricochet is a good match. A good match to kick off. Or Ospreay and Fletcher, sorry, is a good match to kick off with. I like that. Fletcher can work his pace. We'll see if it leads to Ospreay and Ricochet down the line. Won't be all out because Ospreay's facing Pac.
Right.
But I imagine we'll get to that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I keep pegging that for Grand Slam, Ospreay and Ricochet.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see where it lands. But you're right. I keep forgetting the stupid Pac versus Ospreay match. It's going to be fantastic. It's just the setup is what it is. And then finally, the match that we haven't talked about, but is of course the thumbnail 2 hours in. Bryan Danielson is the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. He defeats Swerve Strickland, keeps his career. I think the first question that came to people's minds was too little, too late. And I don't mean this in a disparaging way.
Too little, too late. What do you mean? First question that came to people's mind. The first question that came to your mind is Bryan fucking Danielson. That's not a question. That's a statement of fact. That should be the first thing that came to your mind.
Well, that's why I said question. Questions and statements are two different things. Facts versus feelings. These are two different things. And here's the thing. I don't want people to start thinking like, oh, AEW. No, these were questions that people asked me. And
I will not stand for any Bryan Danielson slander on this show, by the way. Go ahead, Joel.
We're not slandering Bryan Danielson. I think the question became too little, too late, only because I had a few people who were just like, is this in service of Bryan Danielson? Is this the guy who is openly saying that I'm not naming people, by the way. This is
name these people.
No, because some of these people may be friends of ours, and I don't want to start getting weird tribalists getting
name
weird
them in the private chat.
No, I'm not going to do that either. Maybe offline.
Why?
Because maybe I'll do it with you afterwards when we're not doing this on the air and things can get weird. And there are people, and the point is, I understand this feeling of maybe Danielson now winning the title when you've had him since 2021, and there was an opportunity to give him that title a few times and you didn't take advantage of it when he was, quote, more healthy. Now he's a champion. He's been saying my neck is hanging on by a thread. He does the medical team comes and checks me out every match. He's had some injuries come in. There's a story of Danielson being the champion, but is it too little too late in the regard of having a champion who might not be able to do everything in the short amount of time that we're talking about him holding that title for? Again, this isn't a bad faith argument. I think there are valid concerns to why now and why not say 2 years ago or 3 years ago when this all started.
Look, Bryan Danielson should have won the title at AEW All Out 2021. If you ask me. Yeah, that's right.
And give him the title right there.
He should have just beat Kenny Omega right then and there. That's what should have happened. He should have been the champion this whole damn run. If I was booking, that's what I would have done. 100%. I don't think you're trying to have a bad faith argument. I've not seen any of people make this argument, probably because they are very scared and don't want this put out there. I don't blame them.
I mean, look at our argument. No offense, but y'all sometimes are just like, just go. We're going to talk. I know some of y'all are joking. That's fine. But some people are weird like that.
It's 100% true. But also, it's 100% true because these people are fucking wrong.
Okay. Again, the match was fantastic. You and I talked up this match going into it. SB3 and I did the same thing. This was one of the better told stories of the All In season. It deserved the main event. The waffling of should it be Swerve and Hangman? Why is it Danielson? Stuff like that. They put that to bed very quickly, and Danielson continued to make his point even more, firm that he should be in the main event at Wembley going for the title. He won the title. We're assuming that this is going to be a short reign. I think that's fair to assume, and I think it's fair to dictate it would go that way. And Swerve looked great in defeat. My one gripe with the match, because I do that one time, I do mention the gripes. The Hangman interference felt like it didn't really need to be there. He didn't get involved with the match, but he did get involved with the playing out of the match and just the focus of the match. That part I didn't really love because these two were putting on a really fantastic in-ring match. The story was there. The family stuff was there. There was some really good stuff. I don't think Hangman needed to be there this time around.
I didn't hate that. I thought I was going to. Like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, this isn't necessary. But then, because it was just, he was there, caused a momentary distraction, and it was immediately pulled away and didn't actually get involved in any type of the match. Like, I was like, you know what? This was fine. Like, could I have lived without it? Sure. But I don't think it took anything away from the match or anything like that. The complaint of, and it's not a complaint, criticism, whatever it is, of like, oh, Danielson should have gone through earlier, all of this stuff. We're kind of looking at, like, you're already putting an expiration date on this title run. And I don't think that's fair to Bryan Danielson. Like, we're already saying it's going to be early. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is not, everybody. Maybe Bryan Danielson's going to hold this title until Australia. In that case, then what's the complaint of, oh, they put it on him as he's injured and he needs neck surgery and all of this stuff? What if Bryan Danielson's just lying and doesn't need neck surgery that quickly? What if he doesn't want to go home and play with his kids every week? What if he wants to show up to work and wrestle and wants to defend the title? You guys are putting an expiration date on a title reign that literally began less than 24 hours ago. I think that's disingenuous. And I honestly think that it's bullshit that we're doing this instead of just enjoying the moment and enjoying Bryan Danielson winning the championship and becoming the AEW World Champion. If he loses, I've booked that Wrestle Dream is probably the end. I think it is going to be a short reign. I've said that. I do believe it will be a short reign. That doesn't take me out of this reign at all. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen just because I think it might play out this way. Let's just enjoy that Bryan Danielson is the AEW World Champion.
You're such a hypocrite. I love it.
What? How am I a hypocrite?
Stop. You're like, stop booking him on a short title reign. I'm like, you booked him to Wrestle Dream. You got
Yes, I booked him to Wrestle Dream. That's what I think is going to happen. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, just because he's going to lose at Wrestle. Don't call me a hypocrite, Joel. Don't do that. I'll admit when I'm a hypocrite. I'm the biggest hypocrite of 2024. But in this case, this is not the case at all. I can book him to have a short reign because I think this is how it's going to play out, but not say, oh, it should have never happened because he's just going to have a short reign. What's the point of all this? That's disingenuous.
That I agree with. I thought your point was, Joel is right. Thank you. I thought your point there was that you were booking a short title. The idea of booking a short title reign for Bryan in general is disingenuous, or that it shouldn't be that way. When I was going to say, in reality, that's kind of what we've been doing since this all started, is how do you book his title reign? And it's not a long one, put it like that.
I think most people believe it's going to be a short title reign. And if it is, then it is. Then we can have a discussion of, oh, should it happen earlier and all that then. But I do think it's disingenuous to say, why are you doing this? He's just going to have a short reign. There's a difference between thinking he's going to have a short reign and him actually having a short reign. And it's okay if he does have a short reign, by the way. I'm fully fine if he loses it at Wrestle Dream. I think that's best for the story if he loses it at Wrestle Dream. That still does not take away what has happened at All In. Doesn't take away to the build up to All In. It wouldn't take away from his title reign. Should this have happened earlier? Look, I'm going to say yes, because I thought he should have been the champion 3 years ago when he entered the company. I thought they should have put the banging is work being done on my house. I'm sorry, everybody. They should have put the title on him 3 years ago. And he should have just held the title the entire time. I thought he could have beaten Hangman. Although Hangman, I probably wouldn't end the title then. I thought he should have beaten MJF. That title reign got a little long in the tooth. I think in hindsight, Bryan Danielson might have been the better way to go around like that. But it's okay if he has a short reign. And if he does have a short reign, I still think it's disingenuous to say, oh, well, it should have never happened because he was just going to take the title. He was just going to lose it in 3 weeks anyway. So what was the point of even putting the title on him? The point was this story and this moment and giving you more Bryan Danielson and having this culmination at All In. And then having whatever the next chapter of this story is. I'll say this. I'll hedge a little bit here. If he comes out on Wednesday and says, I'm retiring and I'm vacating the title, then I think this sucks. Then I think you could have gone a different direction. But if he defends the title and just loses it to whoever he's going to lose it to, I'm okay with it. But if he just drops it and vacates it, then it sucks. Yeah, but I said that previously, though. I said that, before this match happened, when we were throwing out ideas of, what happens after Danielson wins? Does he just vacate it the next night? I said it sucked then, and I will say it sucked. It sucks if it actually happens on Wednesday. I
agree. I hope that he does. He said, I'm going to be there at, I'm going to be there.
People are being more, again, disingenuous or misinterpreting words, because he's like, oh, I guess I'll go to Dynamite and I'll make an announcement. And then he's got, Birdie there with him. And it's like, oh, what's next for Dad? You want Dad to come home? Like, I'm going home. Yeah, he's going home. But why is this? Oh, he just announced his retirement. No, he's literally going home. Everybody's going home. You idiots should go home.
Some of them are already home.
They should be happier at home. How about that?
Yeah, that's true. I'm pretty happy at home. But yeah, that's the thing. He said it in the presser. He was like, oh, I'll be at Dynamite. I guess I'll go. Because that's what a champion does. They're going to be on the first TV show and they're going to celebrate their championship win. And he's going to be happy for that. I hope he doesn't relinquish it. And it doesn't sound like he's going to relinquish it. If you go to FightfulSelect.com and you read the reports on Danielson, yeah, he's beat up. He's busted up. And the hope is that, this is going to be a strong title reign. Doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be effective. It needs to get the next person in line to motivate more storylines for the people that come after him. That's good. I want that. The too little too late argument was just more for just the conversation. And I see where people stand on it. Again, I don't disagree with the feelings that some people had about that. I think he could have won the title earlier, but they did a really good job of him winning the title this time around, and they made it a big part of the story. That's great. So now we'll see how long the title run is, and hopefully everything plays out as it should. And Danielson's happy to go. I want to say, I know that there are a lot of people who have a lot of feelings about Dave Meltzer in 2024, but I thought it was so friggin' cute the way that he asked the question to Birdie. And Danielson was just like, does anyone have a question? One last question for Birdie. And Meltzer he was so sweet because the dude's a dad too. And he was just like, so you want to go with Daddy to Australia? And I thought that was the funniest thing. It was cute. It was good. Of course, then it was like, you want to go to Tokyo? It was very, very funny. Danielson's good. Danielson's great. Darby and Danielson at Grand Slam, that's a good match to see. If that's where we're at in a month, and Danielson keeps that title through Grand Slam and maybe goes all the way to Wrestle Dream, I'm all for it too. We've talked about it ad nauseum when it comes to Danielson's title reign, how long it could last and where it could go. And that's why I said earlier, I don't know if Christian's going to hold on to that title match opportunity beyond the Danielson reign. Maybe Darby wins the title and then Christian comes in and takes the title from Darby at the last minute. That's a rekindled feud right there.
So I've basically booked it ending at Wrestle Dream, and I thought Hangman was the guy to possibly end it. With Christian winning this casino gauntlet, I've changed course on this. Look, I booked Danielson's reign to end 30 seconds after it started because I thought Christian should have come out and just ended it immediately last night. But I understand why they didn't do that. I think Christian at Wrestle Dream might be the call. I don't know who Danielson faces. Maybe it's Ospreay. Maybe. Why are you so mad at this Ospreay?
No, it's not that. It's something else I'll mention after we finish our AEW talk that I just saw from the company that I actually cover on the website.
Oh, that sounds fun. Okay. I think Christian, after Danielson beats whoever he beats, because I assume Danielson's family is going to be there at Wrestle Dream. It's in Washington. It's a pretty easy trip and whatnot. So I think Danielson beats whoever he beats at Wrestle Dream, and then Christian comes out and takes the title in front of his family. I think there's an easy story with Christian and Danielson, and Christian winning the title in that manner, and then just holding that over Danielson and his family. And then people can say the title reign was too short and it should have never happened.
Should have been 1 week, not several. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. The reason why I was getting so frustrated, once upon a time, TNA said that they were sunsetting the $4.99 YouTube Insiders account, which included the specials. Now they're sunsetting the entire membership. So in other words, the $1 a month that I'm paying to watch TNA TV has just been expired, and this week's episode is the last one. Why did I like that one? Because YouTube is a exponentially better service for watching television at a 2x speed when I need it, and I can start the show at 8:30 p.m. instead of 8 o'clock, and it's commercial free. I'm so fucking pissed. It messes up my flow, messes up my work.
So sorry.
You should be. I'm upset. Others should be too. It's very stupid. Danielson being the champion is not stupid. Very excited for this.
The match was great. It's
fantastic.
One of my favorite matches ever. From start to finish, everything hit for me. There were moments that I thought Brian was losing. I was like, no, he ain't kicking out of that.
All those house calls, the JML driver, yeah, they did a really good time at that.
Yeah, it was just a great match, and yeah, I got no complaints about it. I'm certainly not gonna complain about his title run less than 24 hours before it starts.
You should though. No, probably not. Do you want to talk about the Smitty real quick? Because we're running out of time.
Well, do we have anything else from the press conference? Or I know we covered it kind of with Sean. I didn't know if there's anything else to you that you wanted to cover.
I think Ospreay was really good on this. He's usually really good at this, but there was just a different level of jovial feeling coming from him. I was able to sit through it and not be like, oh Christ. The questions were what they were. But I think that the talent, when they were given the opportunity to speak, they spoke very well. I think the handling of the FTW question was good. You could see that Hook was quite pissed. I do like that he dropped the whole, I went and got that title to bring it to TV, and when I wasn't even on the active roster yet. Their little tips of that were good. And then, Tony did what Tony does, but he was happy. When he said Collision's better now than it was a year ago, I was like,
got rolled.
Bless
them.
Let him. If it's true, it's true. If it's objectively true, then it is.
That was in the middle of a 10-minute answer.
Yes.
Too. He talked about everything in that answer, and then he just dropped that nugget of Collision a year ago, we were dealing with a lot of things, and those things showed up, and now they're not here anymore. I see what you were saying there.
He knows.
Tony.
Anyway, yeah, it was just a solid presser, and it didn't suck. It didn't feel like a downer.
I don't feel like these things accomplish anything. I understand why they do them, but man, they feel more and more diminished just every single time. Okay, cool. the questions aren't always. I don't begrudge anybody for asking the questions that they ask. Like, I get that. You know, ask the stuff you need to ask, but I guess I just have a different approach of like, there's stuff there that I feel like the media call. I didn't get a chance to talk about the media call on Friday. I don't even know if you guys even talked about, like, man, that media call with Tony was just such a nothing media call. Shout out to Uchino and Steph Chase. They asked good questions and got good comments out of Tony. Other stuff was just like, all right, Tony's just going through what he books and stuff. And like there's questions to be asked. And I guess that's where I get frustrated is you're asking questions that he's just going to tell you how great the card is and the match was and how his booking is. And it's like, man, can we ask about the status of grizzled young veterans? Can we ask about the status of John Moxley and Takesha? Can we ask Uchino? Actually, I'll put Uchino over. He's got a great article on Kevin Owens right now on Sports Illustrated. He just started with SI. Shout out to Rick Uchino. And I messaged him after the conference because he asked about Ricky Starks' contract in the media call. And Tony gave an actual newsworthy answer. And I just messaged him. I was like, thanks for asking something good. And I was like, I want someone to ask if they asked WWE for Danielson footage. Maybe I'm the only person that cares, but I feel like that's at least a newsworthy clip of, hey, did you or didn't you? And Rick was even like, oh, that would be a good question. Of course, nobody asked about it.
Well, it's because we talked about it on our show and everybody already got the answer through our show, which was all speculatory and not true at all.
Yeah, we don't know what the answer was.
That's true. We should have asked.
So King Potato, like I thought Tony talking about how he came up with the Timeless Tony Storm character was interesting. Lots of inspiration from old classic movies. And this is probably where I'm in too much of a bubble of like, I heard that answer when he did an interview with New York Post. So none of that was like new information to me. Maybe people just missed that article, which fine. Get you. Yeah, nobody asked Lucha Bros questions. Like it just seems like there's legit questions to like ask and people just want to know about the storyline. It's like, well, watch the television. You get the storyline. It's cool. So
it feels like sometimes the questions that people are trying to ask are ones that they think are either going to be SEO driven or are going to be more fitting to I hate using clickbait, but just more fitting to SEO. And the reality is the questions that you're asking and the things that you're asking that wishing people would ask are questions that should be asked, and they're questions that should be out there and should be answered. And I understand that the answer might just be, can't comment on that at this time, but at least you ask, because what do? You ask the questions. They should.
And I mean, that's going to get more traction than Tony just telling you how great his booking is, because what got traction out of his 10-minute answer about the creative? It wasn't how everything kind of puts together and, oh, we're a team and we got coordinators and specialists and Jimmy Jacobs gets too much shit online. And I hear 100 ideas. We have 27, 30 people working on stuff. No, it was the CM Punk comment. That wasn't an actual CM Punk comment. It was Collision was tougher last year than it is this year. Things flow better this year. That was what got traction. Like that, sadly, that is what people want. But for some reason, it's not understood that that's what people want. It's just very weird to me. Like news makes news. Comments makes comments. And him saying that it's great having Bryan Danielson as our champion ain't really much news. Like, yeah, you booked that. You should have booked it sooner.
The person who asked the FTW championship question did say, I'm sorry, I misspoke, and I'm sorry I said it this way. And Taz responded. He was like, people make mistakes. I'm glad you said you misspoke. And then he gave Tony Khan props for, breaking it down.
I didn't think that was a bad question, mind you. Like, I thought that was okay. I think
everyone
people hear the response and it makes it sound worse.
Well, everyone took offense to the idea that it was a joke title. The way that the question was presented.
Yeah.
That's where people took offense.
Yeah, it could have just been like an unrecognized title, which I think he said in the question, like an unrecognized title. But yeah,
when he used the word joke, it turned it into a different connotation, and therefore the question just fell on its head.
But Chris Jericho, in some ways, like treated it as a joke title, though. He's calling it a For the World title, and he's like, I'm the most recognized champion. Like, again, I
Jericho thinks everything he does is for like this cute meta heat that everyone understands.
Yeah. So I didn't think like that was, and sometimes the answer makes the question seem worse than it was. Sometimes the question's bad. But yeah, the press conferences, I got to cover them. I got to watch them. I talk too much about them in general. I just wish they accomplished a little bit more, but I understand I'm approaching it from a different perspective than everybody else because I'm very plugged into the news.
Do you want to talk about the Smitty? We got to preview Raw real quick too. I don't know if you want to do that.
Raw.
There's a few things going on, but not really. Update on the condition of the Terra Twins following the attack on the Judgment Day. Randy Orton appears live. Number one contender tournament for the Intercontinental Championship begins. Braun versus Braun Son takes place tonight. That's Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed, and Uncle Howdy versus Chadwick Gable. Those are the matches on Raw and the segments.
Very curious how the Uncle Howdy and Chad Gable match goes.
Real jack that Uncle Howdy.
As if he's wrestling as Uncle Howdy. No. It should be interesting. The same way it was interesting when Wyatt Six debuted. And they did a good job with that. So I look forward to seeing how this one kind of plays out. Bronson Reed, Braun Strowman would be fun. It should be clean for Bronson Reed. Don't do any cutesy stuff. You're putting over Bronson the way you have. Braun's got to take an L, deal with it. And the rest of the stuff is fine. Part of the roster's not there because they're already in Europe. Like Gunther's not there, so he won't be part of the show. Yeah.
I hope he does a TED Talk from the stands again.
I assume they'll have some type of video package. Like it's the go home show. So for Bash in Berlin, that's this week allegedly. So I imagine they'll have some type of video package for him.
The pre-show for Bash in Berlin goes up against our show on Friday.
Does it?
It does. It starts at 10 a.m. Eastern. Don't give it any air. Our show is also at the same time. You should be watching this show.
All right, fair.
Let someone else cover the pre-show banter of the other people.
Somebody will. We won't. I won't.
That won't be us. Anyway, talk about the Smitty real quick, and then we'll get on out of here because I know you're going to have Cole, but you were there. The table was there, but you didn't go through it. Coward. All this time, and you evaded the table for now. Talk to me about the experience because you went on a long drive there and back to go watch this event.
11 hours round trip. All worth it, though. Shout out to Cole Roderick. We do our thing here on this show, but I can't imagine what like running a show is actually like. I saw how he was day of. I got there about 2.5 hours before doors opened. And everything was already set up, but stuff was still like moving around and everything. Cole, bless him, he's in his walking boot because he's still recovering from injury. And he's like trying to get organized and everything. And I told him, I'm like, dude, let me know what you need. Like if you need anything, just let me know and I'll help out. And like I helped out set up a few things, but like he was very much hands-on and do it yourself and just wanted to make sure everything was right. And once the show started, he was a little bit more at ease with everything. The show was really good. I think it'll be on streaming at some point. Whenever that gets announced, I'll make sure to let everybody know. It was really good. It was really fun. Next year, if he does it next year, which he's already said he seems like he's going to do, and I don't know what kind of role I'll be playing. I want to be I'll pitch this to him. I need to be the SpongeBob coordinator of this. It's a SpongeBob themed show, but I gotta say, I was lacking SpongeBob like bits and stuff. They did the campfire song. They did have SpongeBob and Patrick. They did have Man Ray. He was there as well. And a couple people made some SpongeBob references. We could have done more. We could have done more of the SpongeBob. So next year, I need to be the SpongeBob coordinator of how to work in a reference to like every match because the kids popped for all that stuff. The kids were into the SpongeBob stuff.
They should put you in a suit and tie with like a fake something and call you SpongeBob Shaw. Your SpongeBob's like great grandfather.
No, they have an episode where SpongeBob has to like clear out his brain, so all he knows is like fancy dining. That's what I want to be. I want to be the fancy dining SpongeBob where my brain is completely cleared out. It's already a mess anyway. And all I know is SpongeBob references. And I'm just feeding the SpongeBob references to all the wrestlers so they can go out there.
Call you Mr. Shaw.
That's fine. I need Hobbs to.
You can be Hobbs Shaw. Shaw Hobbs.
So but it was a good show. And again, shout out to Cole for just like putting it all together. Really good turnout. Like I didn't know what to expect turnout wise, especially in Spencer, Indiana. Really good turnout for the show, and the crowd was hot. They got the kids involved in some spots at ringside and stuff. Yeah. See, like the chocolate, like I'd be passing out chocolate bars and stuff. There's so many references I could do. So I'll pitch that to Cole next year. But it was a good show, and whenever it becomes streaming, hopefully I'll let everybody know on there. It was worth it. It was worth the drive. It was good to see Cole. I know just putting a show together takes a lot. Getting injured 3 weeks before this show probably put a dampen on things of what he wanted to do and what he could do, and just mentally on top of all of that, trying to put stuff together when you're also dealing with an injury takes a lot out of you. But he pulled it all together and it came off great. And yeah, I don't know if he'll do it next year or not, but it was good stuff. So it was worth it. It's worth the drive.
I'm glad you went. I'm sure Louis, who's normally in the chat, he was there too. Did you get to?
If he was there, I did not see him.
Louis, what happened? I hope you're okay. If you made it, I hope you're okay. Sounds like a fun show. I'm looking forward to watching it when it drops. I know that Cole's gonna tell us all when it does, so that'll be fun. And yeah, I'm sure you'll be talking to Cole very soon on the air about it. If you listen to Steven Jensen and the Weekender podcast, it's happening more possibly this week.
Really?
Is there anything else that we need to cover before we get on out of here? Oh, Louis said he didn't make it. I'm sorry. At least you supported. That's appreciated.
Very sad. Next year, Louis. Next year.
Y'all can share an Airbnb that night. Oh, that sucks.
That's good.
I hope things get better with your vehicle. Get that thing fixed, Louis. Yeah, is there anything else you want to pump out before we get on out of here?
No.
Good. All right. We're back here on Wednesday. I might be here. I don't know. We'll find out on Wednesday, won't we? We'll be back at 10 a.m. Eastern till God knows what time. We'll just be here, okay? For Jeremy Lambert, I am Actual Pearl, JOELPEARL. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll